Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and welcome to the Aerosoft CRJ version 2. Do note we are streaming this one using a beta version of the aircraft, so it may not be 100% perfect yet. As a matter of fact, just prior to the starting of this video, I did discuss a couple of items with the main developer Hans Hartmann, and we are going to look into those, of course. But nonetheless, I do think there is some great progress on the CRJ. But before we start, let's go ahead and talk about what this update is about. So the CRJ is going to receive a free update. That means if you've already bought the previous version, you will get the latest update completely without having to pay extra for it. They have added a new cabin to it, which actually looks pretty good for, well, a free update, of course. And it's also received some additional features such as Navigraph charts, such as the ability to import your SimBrief data into your FMS, and so on. We're going to do a couple of flights today so that we can explore the different options that they've added, such as manual flight plan entry, then of course the SimBrief import partially and fully. So we will go over all these details today. Now let's go ahead and start working on the aircraft. So in general, let's have a quick look at the external model before we start going inside and having a look at the details inside. So the external model, if you go fully close up, might be a little bit unsharp, but as you can see, from any decent amount of distance, it does still look pretty good, even though this was the very first airliner that we have seen in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and even though it has its 4th anniversary this year already. So that's pretty cool. Now, level of detail, as you can see over here, is not 100% up to the very latest offerings, such as the Inibuild 350, but nonetheless, in my opinion, still quite okay for the actual age of the aircraft, including the facelift that it's received. Now, those are the most important details here from the outside. Do note the tail skid we've got on this airplane. We might get to use it later on. We'll see about that one, because flying the CRJ feels a little bit different than flying your average Boeing or Airbus aircraft. Now, as you can see, one of those features that I really appreciate that they had added even in 2015 in the original CRJ is the ability to retract those handrails over here so that a jetway can actually be docked to the aircraft. That's quite a cool feature if you ask me. And then, as you can see, you can just step from the jetway right onto the step over there. Actually, pretty well done on the CRJ and the docking of the jetway over here. But now let's go inside, and this is the brand new galley that we have in the CRJ. So you can open and close all those doors with the click spots on them. So over here you can see we can open it, and by using that same click spot we can close it again, like this. Well, and this is what the galley looks like. So, especially the panels with all the circuit breakers and stuff up here are really of a great level of detail, and the rest of the galley, well, does offer quite a bit of an area for your favorite painter to experiment in and to customize with airline logos, etc. Talking about painters, by the way, we should probably talk about adding repaints as well. So repaints will need some reworks by the painters to make them compatible with the latest iteration of the aircraft, but the good news is that they will provide a PDF version for painters telling them how they can easily make their liveries compatible. So it will need an update for paints, but that is going to be made simple for painters. Now let's have a look into the cabin as well. As you can see, it's an okay level of detail. I'm always saying to myself that since we are talking about a free update here for the aircraft, it's actually quite good. Obviously, it can't hold it up to the likes of Phoenix or the PMDG 777, but I do think that it is looking okay for what is offered over here. Level of detail on the floor, for example, very good. On the walls, I think it's not perfect, but definitely alright for a free update. Then again, of course, while I'm saying free update, we got to keep in mind that you guys have paid for the aircraft at one point already, so it's not free as in freeware. So we can criticize it a little bit stronger than, for example, the fly-by-wire A380 over here, which is available totally for free. This is what the passenger service units look like. That's where perhaps they could add a little bit more level of detail, but in my opinion, it's looking okay-ish for what the CRJ is. So, Ryulian is asking in the comments if it's Phoenix standard or AnyBuild standard or Captain Sim standard. Well, I would call it something in between. I mean, it's definitely not Phoenix standard, but then again, it isn't aimed to be Phoenix standard either. AnyBuild standards, well, on the system side, I definitely think it matches or exceeds the AnyBuilds, but on other things such as the modeling, I think it's a little bit below the AnyBuilds, but overall, I think it's a nice mixture. And since someone has asked if there are toilets included in this aircraft, the answer is no, not for the time being. Toilets are locked, so if you go inside there, well, that's what it looks like. So, no 3D toilets in here, but who knows, maybe they're gonna add that in the future. Something I do like on this aircraft as well is the purser workstation on the front over here, where you've got all this level of detailing going inside the flight deck. So on your typical way from the door going inside, it's actually looking pretty good, even though we do have to say that none of these switches are actually simulated. So these are just there for visual purposes and not actually simulated. Do note that foldable jump seat here, by the way. That's a way to do this. I thought the 737 was cramped already. But okay, so now let's go up here into the flight deck and we can take a seat and just have a look into the brand new features in the electronic flight bag. Since a couple of you are talking about the cockpit already, the cockpit model has received, I believe, only minor updates for the time being, but I do think they still want to work a little bit on it, but don't quote me exactly on it. That's maybe a question to ask for Aerosoft, but for the time being, this is what the cockpit looks like. In my opinion, okay, but far from the likes of Phoenix or AnyBuilds, for example. On the positive side, though, I do think that all the modeling and the geometry is correct in here, which may be something to point out as well. Alright, cool. So that much about the cockpit. Now let's have a look into the electronic flight bag. Now, if we take a look into the options, we can see a couple of new things added over here, such as, for instance, turn knob acceleration or altitude knob modes. Basically some things to make your life easier, dialing in some numbers. Also on the next page you now have things such as updating your nav data from right within the aircraft and so on. Now obviously the greatest difference are the charts that have been added over here, and Hans has actually done something pretty nice in here, in that you have 3 different levels of zoom that you can quickly select from. So this is something that I've requested a lot of developers to do, but none of them actually did that. So let's say we're in a normal Android environment like right now, then we might just, you know, put it somewhere like here to get a good idea of what's around us. But then if we want to quickly hop to the safe taxi maps, just click that zoom level A over here and you get a good overview of what the airport looks like. And then zoom level B in order to really go all the way in to tell your gate numbers and stuff like that. Pretty good to quickly have your moving map available. So that's a pretty nice feature. We'll look into the flight plan over here in a few moments, but for the time being, let's go ahead and actually start to power the aircraft up. Now, some questions down there from Aryan Patel. Do pilots have to bring their EFB, or does the airline provide them with one? Well, the airline provides them to the pilots, but normally the pilots have to bring them to work, so they get to take them home. Makes it cheaper for the airline to update everything. And Leon, yes, the heads-up display is working. Alright, so let's go ahead and actually start to power the aircraft up. And for that, we are first of all going to do the safety inspection. So that's going to be right up here. Battery is off for the time being. And then the nose wheel steering switch on the side is off. The hydraulic pumps up here are all off. Landing gear lever is down, flaps up, speed brakes up. weather radar is off, then the ADG manual release handle is stowed and the emergency flaps are in normal. With that done, let's go up here and turn on the battery master, and then we'll power the aircraft up. So first of all, with the battery, it's only powering the inner two screens. Then we can run our fire test and verify that the fire lights illuminate and we see the enunciations appear in the ICAS. And then let's turn the APU power button on, wait for the APU door to open up. And here we go, and with the APU door open, we can go ahead and start that APU. Alright, and the thing is powering. Now, that's gonna take a little while, and we'll just give it that bit of time. In the meantime, a couple of you have asked, hot in the CRJ? Yeah, absolutely, up here it is. So that's your heads-up display, obviously not powered at the moment, until we get AC power available. We are going to use it for one sector, however I don't want to use it on the first one, because, well, you know, we are flying Lufthansa today, Lufthansa doesn't actually have them. But yeah, just to give you a quick idea, this is basically what it would look like. But we are going to use it on a later flight so that you guys can see it in action. So, as you can already tell, we are going to do several sectors today. Alright, cool. So let's fold that away for the time being. Power is available. And then we can go ahead and turn the air conditioning on and the recirc fans on as well. Bleed source onto the APU. And that should power our aircraft up. Okay, so, Metal Eye, hi, nice to see you. And we are doing probably 3 real-world Lufthansa flights today. The first one from Bremen to Munich, then on to Ljubljana, and then back to either Munich or Frankfurt. We'll see about that today. Alright, so electric power is now available to the aircraft. Then let's go ahead and turn on the hydraulic pump 3A so that we get pressure onto the hydraulic systems, and then we can start aligning the IRS, which does take a little while in here. So while we're doing that, let's have a look at another one of the new features, and that's the flight plan page. So this has been changed rather significantly in order to add a lot of new stuff, such as, for example, the import OFP button, which now actually enables you to view your SimBrief OFP over here as well. So that's quite a nice new feature, having the flight plan available right within the cockpit. Okay, so from here, let's go ahead and just scroll down a little bit and have a look at today's weather. We're going from Bremen, which probably has runway 09 in use, over to Munich, which definitely has runway 27. Overall, we can see prop 40 tempo, some gusts and thunderstorms, so we are going to take a little bit of extra fuel for that. Our alternate Nuremberg is good though, so nothing to worry about overall. If we take a look into our flight plan itself, we can see if we depart on time, we arrive on time. Flight level 350 is the planned cruising level. And then moving down a little bit, we can discuss our options for extra fuel. And I don't actually want to take all that much, however, due to those thunderstorms that might move through, let's take half an hour extra. So as we can see, half an hour equals around 800 kilos. So if we look at this, planned takeoff 3.6 plus 200 taxi is 3.8, and that plus 800 gives us 4.6 tons of fuel for our flight. So what we can do is to use the set payload and fuel button up here. You could also use send to FMS, just to send your flight plan directly to the FMS, but I'm just not a huge fan of doing that. So let's quickly go over to performance. You can see it's already entered our SimBrief calculated data, so 85 passengers, plus around 1,000 kilos of cargo, plus the SimBrief minimum fuel to the flight plan. We said we wanted to take 800 more, so let's do that, and take roughly 4.6 tons of fuel, and then we can say set payload and simulator, and now you can see it's updated the amount of fuel down here, and it's set the rest of our payload as well. And Cedric, will there be a discount for owners of version 1? Oh yeah, it will be 100% discount. V2 is going to be free to V1 users. Alright, so that's our that is our flight plan functionality. So let's open up the OFP once again. Oh, and before I forget it, if you hit the refresh weather button, it actually downloads the latest weather from here, which is different to the earlier version, which just uplinked a single weather from SimBrief, and that was it. So you can now update the weather in here as well, which is quite useful. Alright, cool. So that's the flight plan and weather functionality. Now let's go ahead and start programming our flight plan. So, as I've mentioned earlier, you can uplink the flight plan to SimBrief, but you still gotta use a couple of things yourself. So first of all, let's start with the position initialization, and for that we are simply going to use the GNS1 position. So let's copy and paste that. Now we end up on the flight plan page, and this is where we can either choose to enter it ourselves, or we can just use send to FMS, and when we do that, you can see it's basically send all that data right from SimBrief into our flight plan. It's not completely perfect yet though, because for instance I did have a different alternate and our call sign has not been uplinked correctly as well. So as you can see, you still gotta cross-check those uplinks carefully, which by the way is a thing in the real world as well. So in the real world you do have to cross-check your uplinks carefully as well, and just like in the real world, it does not by default uplink any runways, so that stuff is still for the pilot to do. So let's go ahead and enter our departure runway, and then we can also enter our arrival runway like this. And a quick check, we are arriving via Landu, I believe. Yes, we are. Let's actually bring up the OFP. So let's add the Landu transition in here as well. Okay, cool. So that's now executed. With that, we can do a quick cross-check of the uplink. So we're going via the Nienburg departure, then via Zulu 88 to Sarstedt, direct Kuma, direct Sodro, and we have Zulu 88 Sarstedt, Kuma, Sodro, and then Tango 703 Lula, Tango 105 Vesix, and that's almost what we need, because Tango 105 should lead us all the way to Landu. And if we take a look over here, it is using that a little bit strange of a format there. James asking in the comments, do they have options like single FMS or analog standby gauge? No, I don't think they do, but I believe the analog standby gauge is only available on the 200, is it? Or is it available on the 700 and onwards as well? Alright, so we still need to fill out the performance manually. So let's go ahead and do that. Our plant zero fuel weight is 30.2, and obviously since we don't have the exact load sheet data in the real world at this point in time, we could just enter the rest of the figures and then figure out the load towards the end of the setup. So that's what we'll do. So fuel 4,600 kilograms, then we're cruising in flight level 350, our alternate cruise altitude is 17,000. And we could just fill in the zero fuel weight in here, so that's 3170 today. And that way it can do all its calculations. When we receive the load sheet later on, we can enter the passenger and cargo data on the left-hand side there. So then for our wind initialization, if we take a look at the flight plan, then we can see that basically the wind is almost calm today, so I'm not going to enter anything there. Top of climb temperature, minus 56, so that's also, again, pretty much ICAO standards. Nicholas, we are doing this one in FS 2024, but the update will come to both simulators. Alright, cool, so onto the VNAV setup. Transition altitude has been imported automatically, 5,000, that's correct. We'll leave the speeds as they are, and we'll leave them as they are over here as well, with one exception. We do want to cruise at Mach 0.75 today, so let's enter that. Alright, then finally onto the performance page, where we can enter our flex temperature, which will be 45. And that's it for the time being. Alright, cool. So that's our FMS setup in the easy way done. Last but not least, we can go down onto the MFD window and turn on the window up here. And we can do that on both sides. And I also like to have the mist approach visible, so let's bring that in on both sides as well. So, that's the FMS setup completed then. So let's go ahead and set our flight deck up. So, DC services can come on, nav lights on, logo lights on, fuel pumps remain off for the time being, and the isolation valve can go open. Hydraulic pump 3A is on. Our cabin pressurization is set to the departure field elevation, which is basically about 0. And everything here is set. Then we can turn on the windshield heaters to low. Seatbelt signs on, emergency lights armed, and then we can go right down here. We want the bearing pointers for VOR1 and VOR2. Traffic is already selected, as you can see by the indications over here. And then we can also select MDA up here and just remove that from view for the time being. Alright, coming down into the middle, we can do the main landing gear bay overheat test, then lamp test number 1, where we check that all the lights do illuminate as they should, which is working almost fine. We can see the chime doesn't illuminate there. Let's see if that works on lamp test number 2. No, okay, well that's something to report then. Alright, apart from that, that's our setup done though. So moving down here, we can tune 1 to 1.5 in COM number 2. And here we go. So 1 to 1.5 is in here. Squawk 2000 is okay. We want to listen to VHF 1 and 2. Turn that standby COM on. And well, for the rest of things, we will need an aligned IRS. So we'll just have to wait a little bit. Okay, so, Yossam CFI said in the comments, no need for the DC service switch. All it does is switch power from battery power to APU battery powered. Okay, well, in that case, we'll put it back off again. Alright, cool. Luis, do the Boris sounds work? Not at the moment, because some changes had to be done to the sound system as well, but Boris has already received a copy of the CRJ, so he should be able to make his sound pack compatible, hopefully pretty soon. And Aviation Sound Expert, no, I'm not gonna make a new video on the EOSID in the 737, because I covered that in my basic tutorials. And Jason, does it have VNAV? Well, the real plane doesn't. However, a coupled VNAV option for the descent is available as an option. In that case, you get the VNAV switch over here, and that option is modeled. However, as mentioned, most CRJs do not have VNAV in the real world. So, yeah. And Brandon, yes, we will fly a holding a little bit later on. And Ollie, we are going to Munich initially. We'll see about the third sector, whether we are going to fly back to Munich or over to Frankfurt for the third one. And Supper124, how does it fly without VNAV? No worries, I'm gonna show you. Alright, for the time being though, we have powered the aircraft up. Let's go ahead and see if we can grab an ATIS. So let's go over to the charts. Use FMS plan please, and origin Bremen. So we do need the airport charts and the parking stand charts. And then ATIS 132.380. And I tell you what, I'm a lazy guy, so let's go over here. 132.380. Oh, come on. Can't it switch that on the FMS? Could swear it could.
Bremen information alpha.
But okay.
Out.
In any case, 132.38
Bremen
is
information alpha.
active, and here's our
Met
ATIS.
report time 1550 Zulu. Automated weather message, expect ILS approach runway 09 runways and use 09. Transition level 70 when airborne, contact Bremen radar on frequency 124.8. Wind 120 degrees 5 knots, variable between 080 and 180 degrees. Cav OK. Temperature 16. 2.5 QNH 1006 trend. No SIG Bremen information alpha. Out.
Okay, so we have ATIS information alpha. Then let's go back to guard over here and call the tower 122330 for our clearance. Oh boy, I've been dialing a little bit quickly here. Come on. And actually it's 12033. So that was my mistake here. So let's go. Flame Tower, schönen guten Abend. Lufthansa 2189er Information Alpha, request clearance to München.
Lufthansa 2189er, Bremen Tower, hallo. Information Alpha is correct. Cleared destination München via the Nienburg to Mike departure. Flight plan route, climb to altitude 4,000 feet and score 1,000.
Lufthansa 2189er is cleared to München via Nienburg to Mike departure. Flight plan route, climb altitude 4,000, squawk 1,000.
Lufthansa 2189er, read back correct.
Alright, Nienburg to Mike is confirmed. Flight plan route, which we want to do, climb to altitude 4,000. Set, and the squawk is 1,000. So let's go ahead and remove that. Squawk 1,000. Alright, wonderful. So our IRS alignment has completed. Then let's go ahead and hit the toga switch. So toga, and then we can set our runway heading, which is 086. So 086, and we can arm nav mode, which puts it in a heading for the takeoff. Not 100% sure if that is SOP, but we'll get there. We'll definitely get there. Okay, cool. So that stuff is now done. Let's go ahead and call for GSX to prepare the position for pushback and departure. And while it's doing that, let's head over into the cabin real quickly in order to close that door. Something that I do like is you can just click the click spot down here, and that actually closes it. Alright, cool. So the door is closed, number 1, number 2, and number 3. Okay, cool. So that stuff is done. Then let's go ahead, turn on the stabilizer trim, the Mach trim, and the yaw dampers, and then we are ready for our departure briefing. Actually, we are almost ready for the departure briefing, because the last thing we got to do down here is to set our QNH, which is 1006. Here we go. 1006 is cross-checked. Very nice. Alright, cool. So that's the basics done. Then let's go ahead and do our briefing, please. So that's gonna start on the FO seat. Alright, so Nienburg to Mike departure of Bremen's runway 09. Our initial climb 4,000, MSA roughly 2,000 all around, and we have an extra fuel of half an hour in the form of 800 kilograms. Alright, thank you very much for that. So we have no hotspots for our taxi routing. Our engine outset is straight out to 25 miles. Pick up a holding over there, and 3,000 feet is going to keep us safe. If you need to make an immediate return, we will be just about at the maximum landing weight, and the approach will be an ILS to runway 09. We can do a visual pattern if required. As you can see, it's pretty much cavalcade outside. Apart from that, I have nothing special or non-standard over here. One thing we can quickly check is on the charts. Let's go to the SID chart here. Nienburg to Mike, RNAV overlay. So, transition altitude 5,000, contact Bremen radar immediately after takeoff on 124.8. So let's go ahead and pre-select that. 124.800. And that's pre-selected. Alright, cool. Speed 250 below level 100. That's what we are going to do anyway. And the routing is going to be... No, that was the wrong button. Let's use that one instead. Alright, so the routing is going to be straight out to 500. Then we've got Delta Whiskey 090 as an overfly point, Delta Whiskey 091, and then Okbad and Nienburg. And we've got 090, 091, Okbad, and Nienburg. So, parts of the IFR profiles are within airspace class Echo. Watch out for VFR traffic unknown to air traffic control, and we'll do that by keeping our speed down low to a maximum of 220 until we have at least completed that turn and until we are above 5,000. Above 5,000 in Germany, a transponder is mandatory, so you would be able to see any traffic on TCAS. Well, and that's all I've got for this. So then, let's do the power-up checklist and cockpit checklist, please. Park and brake. On. Covers and pins removed. Oxygen mask and pressure checked, 1,850 psi. System panels checked and set. Passenger signs on. Pressurization set with 0 feet for an immediate return. Altimeters, QNH 1006 reading about 20, EFIS and CAS checked, FMS checked, IRS aligned, and nose wheel steering is off, cockpit checklist completed. Alright, so by now we should have received our load sheet, so let's go ahead and enter that data. So we have 85 guests on board and 929 kilos of cargo. So performance in it, 85 guests and 929 kilos in the hold. Alright, execute that. Gross weight is 34.8, and going down here into the EFB we have a dry runway and we can use all those speeds with a flaps 8 takeoff. So let's just use the set all button because I'm lazy, and that sets our takeoff speeds automatically. Alright, perfect, and that's our setup completed. Well then, let's go ahead and call for pushback. Lufthansa 2189, stand 3, request pushback and startup.
Lufthansa 2189, pushback and startup approved, facing northwest.
Pushback and startup approved, facing northwest, Lufthansa 2189. Okay, before start push checklist. Mobile devices off, beacon on, hydraulics, well, let's turn them all into on and auto. Park and brake is on, doors. Oh, look at that, they still have the cargo doors open. Of course, there's always something, huh? So let's do it that way. So, doors closed, park and brake on. Actually, let's cross-check that. So, park and brake is on. Then, fuel pumps and quantity on, and 4,600 kilograms, minimum 3,800 kilograms. Takeoff data set, transponder is on 1, before start push checklist completed. So, continue push, facing northwest, so that's going to be nose to the left. And then park and brake is released. So, ground fighting, go ahead. So, you're clear to push facing northwest, park and brake released, and you let us know when we can start the engines, please. Wilco. Alright, my friends, and with that, off we go. And SB 2008, that's a great question down there. Is it better than the amazing Aerosoft A330? Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. And Metal Eye, yes, you're correct, VNAV is optional. And Jamie, no, this is the standard sounds. And Randall, which ATC are we using? VATSIM, of course. Alright, cool. So we cleared the red lines, then let's go ahead and start up our engines. And we'll begin with engine number 1. Note that you need to press and hold the starter for a little while down here, so that the starter actually engages, which is new with the update. And of course I fell victim for that on my first flight as well. If you just press it for a split second, it's actually not gonna start. So N2 is increasing, oil pressure is increasing, N1 is increasing, then we've got 20%.
Gestartet, Klinik links der Weser, erbitten Ausflug über Sierra 1 und Sierra 2.
And Jordan Collins, any idea if they updated the LNAV bugs? I think they did. But we are definitely going to see that during our flight. I will maximize use of the autopilot on this one, so that we can see how the autopilot is actually going to work. And Sam, no, unfortunately I have not flown the CRJ in real life. Right, pushback complete, set brakes please. So, brake set, you're clear to remove all the ground equipment, and advisement clear please. And we're starting engine number 2.
Lufthansa 5 Romeo confirmed, startup approved.
So, where is that other Lufthansa? Oh, gotta be that one. Alright, we'll expedite then. Okay, so, again, N2, oil pressure, N1, 20%, so let's
Info on.
turn on the fuel.
Christoph 26, Sierra 2.
Christoph 26 verstanden.
Alright, and engine number 2 is also starting. Let's check down here. Another suicidal wing walker, it seems. Guys, I mean it. If you have any thoughts of suicide, call somebody, talk to somebody. Don't walk after jet engine, please. Alright, and with that we have, yeah, pretty much 2 good engine starts. You clearly disconnect, show me the pin on the right side please, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye. Alright, and there's the pin scene. 2 good engine starts, that looks perfect. So, APU going off, and then what else do we have to do? The packs are on automatically. Probe heat is coming on, and then down here, flaps 8. Thrust reverse is armed, and flight control check please. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral, and the rudder. Full left. Full right, and neutral. Okay, after start checklist. Anti-ice. Off, low, on. AC/DC. Making great music. Fuel cross flow, auto, cast check, nose wheel steering. Armed, after start checklist complete. Lufthansa 2189, request taxi. Yes, no, maybe. Actually, it might work better if we just select VHF1 again. Lufthansa 2189, request taxi.
Lufthansa 2189, taxi tooling von runway 09, wir November, wir, sorry, stand 14, Sierra and Alpha.
Lufthansa 2189, taxi holding point runway 09 via stand 14, Sierra and Alpha.
Lufthansa 4 Alpha Romeo, behind the company CRJ900, pushback approved.
Okay, so stand 14 onto the left, and then Sierra and Alpha. Interesting taxi routing, but alright, if that's what they want, that's what they get. Taxi light on, break off.
Christoph 26, Sierra 1.
Let's go.
Christoph 6, verstanden, verlassene Frequenz genehmigt, schön weiter Flug, tschüss.
Verlassene Frequenz
Okay,
genehmigt,
brakes.
verstanden.
Checked.
Christoph 26, danke fürs Service, bye bye.
Okay, so stand 14 is going to be on the left over here, and then on to Sierra. I wonder why they don't just make us go straight ahead, but
Same tower, taxi,
they'll probably have an idea,
India,
so
Papa, established LS runway 09.
Delta Charlie, Hotel India Papa, Same Tower, moin. Wind 12035 knots, runway 09, clear to land.
Runway 09, clear to land, India, Papa.
so stand 14, and then Sierra is going to be to the right over here. Just a quick check to make... oh god, damn you GSX. Okay, Alpha must be the one over here. That's fine, so to the right. Just wanted to be 100% sure. See, these quick references during taxi are really where those zoom levels are coming in very handy. You need the details, you go all the way in, and if you don't need them, you just have quick access. Alright, cool. Alright, so let's go over to the left onto Alpha, ground speed back to 10. You do need quite a bit of oversteering here, since there is quite a distance between the nose wheel and the main wheels of the aircraft. Even though the CRJ itself isn't that large, if you look at this, the main wheels are just so far behind. Alrighty, then let's review the takeoff briefing here. It's a left seat takeoff of runway 09, takeoff speed 143, 144, 154, clean speed 202, and we have a departure frequency of 124 decimal, whatever that was. Let's see, pin charts, Nebook to mic, 124.8 immediately when airborne. Okay, engine out, straight ahead for 25 miles to pick up the holding, and that's it. Any questions? No? Okay. So, taxi checklist. Flaps,
taxi to
8, flight controls, checked, trimmed, green, and let's see, of course I forgot to trim it, 7.2.
Delta Charlie India, Delta Charlie Hotel India, welcome in Bremen. Taxi to stand 17 via Foxtrot Golf
So,
and Sierra.
come on. You trim down over here, 7.2, pretty much like this, yeah.
Stand 17.
Right, thrust reverse is armed, EFS and CAS checked, BTMS is 0, and cabin ready, taxi check is
189er, wind 120 degrees, 5 knots, runway 09er, clear for takeoff, schönen Weiterflug, tschüss.
Lufthansa 2189er, Runway 09er, cleared for takeoff, vielen Dank und ein schönes Wochenende, tschüss. Okay, cabin crew, prepare for departure. Alright, so we are clear on the approach, and we are also clear on the left-hand side. Looking at the windsock, it's light headwind, just like the tower controller said. Well then, let's take the most of the runway that we can get. And we're cleared for takeoff. Stabilized. Set takeoff thrust. Thrust set. Note the old bar where it still goes slightly above the flags. That's unfortunately still there.
We have Charlie, then turn next, turn left.
100 knots. Checked.
Delta Charlie Hotel India Papa House position.
V1, rotate.
Sorry, in meiner Szenerie
Come on,
Stand
will
17,
you?
der übernächste von meiner
Here we go. Positive climb. Gear up.
Ja, bei mir ist der 1, 2, 3, der übernächste, aber das war jetzt gerade November.
Might have been a little bit too careful with the possible tail strikes here, but anyway, here we
Das
go.
Problem ist nur, dass genau gerade vor deiner Nase eine Baustelle ist. Dann
Okay,
Charlie
FMS
Hotel
1.
India Papa take left.
Autopilot engaged, speed hold, and bug
Okay,
up.
dann turn left and stand 14. Bei mir in der Szenerie gibt es die Baustelle nicht. Delta Charlie Hotel India Papa.
Das ist Charlie Hotel India Papa, das ist eigentlich auch nicht zwar eine
Speed check,
Real-Life-Baustelle,
flaps
aber
1.
die wird in den Szenerien nie angezeigt.
Radar, good morning. Lufthansa 2189er, passing 2000, climbing 4000. Flaps 0.
2189er Bremen,
Check, flaps 0.
identified, climb flight level 100.
Climb flight level 100, Lufthansa 2189er. Set, 10,000 checked. Okay, and climb thrust is set, and oh, look at that. Of course I forgot to turn off the APU shut-off valve, respectively the APU switch. That's looking nicer, isn't it? Okay, so I tend to say the first couple of turns were quite alright, but we do definitely have a couple more along our route. So we are gonna check that in depth.
Lufthansa 2189er, further climb on Honeycomb 1228, bye-bye.
1228, Lufthansa 2189er, tschüss. Alright, set standard.
Bremen approach, hello, Postman 5, Romeo,
Standard,
Victor,
cross
flight
check,
level
passing flight level 58.
Postman 5 Victor, Bremen,
Now.
identified, Info Alpha,
Alright,
Expect
so
vectors
1 to
Island
2.8.
09er. Proceed direct Delta Whiskey 455. Report ready for descent.
Direct data.
Silence. I love it. Alright, so let's continue our climb all the way to cruise level, which is going to be 350. And that's now set. I'm maintaining 220 until we pass flight level 100 just for the sake of VFR traffic. And, well, then we can get all the way up to cruising level. Once we're above 100 and once we've completed the acceleration, I will show you a little bit of that cabin in action once again. And, well, with that, we're up and in the air. So, Aeropress Dispatch has asked, what is the route today? We are going from Bremen to Munich, and then later on we'll fly on to Ljubljana, and then we'll see whether the last flight is gonna take us back to Munich or to Frankfurt, depending on the time available and where we can find air traffic control online. Alright, so passing level 100, let's accelerate all the way towards 290, which will be our final climb speed. So, lights off, signs auto, and logo light off as well, and that's about it. So with that, we're up and accelerating. Now, Ute5714, can we see how she handles it direct? Yeah, let's just find a good waypoint that we can actually direct to. I'd say direct to, well, I don't know. Let's go Sierra Alpha Sierra, Sarstedt. So, direct to Sierra Alpha Sierra and execute. So it should just be a very slight left-hand turn. Let's watch that in detail on the instruments down here. So, JA Bluewater, how does the CRJ feel? What are my first impressions? So my first impressions are that they've definitely done some work on here. LNAV works quite a bit nicer, and the cabin, for being something added for free to a product that was released, you know, 4 years ago, is actually pretty good. There is a little bit of problems that I encountered on my first test flight, which I've all reported to Hans Hartmann, and he's actually given me a fix for this live stream already. So we'll pay special attention to the ILS interception later on. But I think that's gonna go, you know, I think that's gonna go rather well. Now, let's go ahead and have a look into the passenger cabin once more to see what things look like from back there. A little bit of turbulence here, but that shall just about be fine. Alright, so we'll just take a seat somewhere. Small aircraft. Very small aircraft. I want one of those sandwiches, please. Even though I'm wondering why you're gonna make a PA for that. So, here we are. So, Retropilot, can it do an ANAF approach? To be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I'm really not that much into ANAF with the CRJ. I just don't have an AFCOM for it, so I don't know the exact procedure with this one. Nikolai, have I tested how the airplane handles a holding? Not yet, but we are definitely going to do that in the video. By the way, I do believe that I see a little bit of wing flex over here. Not very much, but I'm not sure how much the actual CRJ's wing would flex, since it is a pretty short wing and a pretty stiff one, by the looks of it. And Wood 331 November, can I explain ground speed mini of the Airbus? well, when we're flying Airbus next time, I can do that, but not on a CRJ preview, my friend. Reaper88 asking, is it better than the E-Jets as far as regional aircrafts go? Oh yeah, absolutely. And Daniel, yes, it will be a free update for owners of the previous CRJ. And Gabriella, I don't think that it supports GLS, and Max, for that matter of fact, I don't think it supports LPV either, but I might be mistaken about that one. Alright, so I do kind of like that Aerosoft welcome screen up here when the aircraft is powered, but just a little gimmick, of course. Would be nice if we could add some GIFs or something in here. Well, and this is what the cabin looks like. MT Aviation, is it nice and heavy on takeoff? Yeah, well, it does rotate pretty quickly when you pull the control column aft, but I think it feels kind of okay. You could see how I got pretty much stuck at like 7.5 degrees or so, which was, you know, probably because of my fear of tail striking it, but we'll talk about that again on the next one. And Reaper88, I do think they will continue to update it, yes. Hans has done that for quite a while, and since the new version is also compatible with FS 2024, that's what we're flying it in, I do think it will see the occasional update for sure. I definitely think we will. So, let's slowly walk back to the front here. I definitely like the looks of the cabin. I definitely like them. Always remember, it's not Inibild's quality, but then again, this is a product that was released 4 years ago, and I think for that it's a pretty great update. I mean, if we look at the cabin over here, that's definitely, you know, maybe half a year work or something that went into this, so I did invest some significant money into the post-life update here. And that's pretty cool. Right, so let's get back into the flight deck then, see how the aircraft is doing over here. And close that door. Alright, so let's go back to the captain's seat here. So, temperature is -38, approaching some clouds. Well, Cal anti-ice on. From -40 onwards we wouldn't need it anymore, so maybe it's even gonna work out, we'll see about it. Something I really like about the CRJ is the enormous performance of the aircraft. I mean, look at that, we're in 26,000 feet and still climbing at 2,000 feet a minute. I guess flying the A330 has definitely not helped in spoiling me with aircraft performance, but yeah. Okay, -41 degrees, anti-ice off. And anti-ice is off. German sim aviation, how does the aircraft feel in flight? Well, similar to how I would expect it to fly. It's a small aircraft, it's not an aircraft that I would expect to handle, you know, like a heavy airplane. I would kind of expect it to handle very agile and to respond to your commands pretty rapidly, and that's exactly what it does. You asked if it flies like a paper airplane. I'll tell you honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell the feeling of a paper airplane in Flight Simulator, just for the simple fact that we don't have proper force feedback on the controls, but it kind of flies the way that I would expect it to fly. And Matthew Presley, love flying the 900, cruising at between levels 380 and 410 at Mach 81 or 82. Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Metal Eye, you're absolutely right, the plane does not land upside down. I mean, we can try and make it land upside down, but, you know. And Dark Bolts 219. on the topic of wing flags. Quote, the CRJ really doesn't have wing flags, pretty much just around the ends of the wings have some bounce, but that's it. This is coming from someone who works on them daily, not a 737 style flags. That's what I would absolutely expect, yeah. And Jewel, we are gonna try the holds later on. Okay, so let's transition to Mach 7.5. Actually, you should do 7.4 according to the FMS, so let's do that. Look at how the airplane reacts to that turbulence caused by those little wind shifts there. That's rather significant. And Oliver, is the speed twitching normal? Well, that's the thing of the simulator. That's nothing the aircraft could do anything about. You can see it by the movements of the aircraft from the outside as well. Microsoft seems to think that the wind is rather variable up here. So we're getting some turbulence from that. And yeah, then the speed could certainly vary a little bit. And Fly Coco 737, can I show the night lighting? Yeah, absolutely. We are gonna do another couple of flights, so the last one is definitely gonna be a complete night flight. For this one we are gonna stay on daylight though, but I think by the time we land in Munich the sun will be pretty much down. So, John Gluttony is asked, does it follow the navigation and not overshoot or rock back and forth searching for the line? I think it pretty much does, but we are gonna see it later on in action. The first part of the route is pretty much a straight line, but later on we are definitely gonna get into that area as well. And yeah, some of you guys have already seen correctly that the wing tips seem to be twitching a little bit every now and then. I guess that's probably some wing flex code that is doing strange things, but yeah. And Oliver, how long are we gonna do this stream? I don't know for sure, probably 3 hours or so. Just my guess. Might turn out a little bit shorter or longer, depending on how long you guys want it to be. So yeah, in terms of the wing flex question, the real CRJ's wings definitely don't flex very strong, so don't expect to see much. And you guys are right in that it sometimes has some strange twitching of the wingtip over there. Probably something with a wing flex code going on. In any case, I'm gonna ask Hans to have a look into that one after the live stream. Alright, so let's just go back inside here for the time being and watch it complete its climb. Just look at that enormous power over here. We're passing level 340 and the thing is still doing about 1,000 feet a minute. One to go. Checked. And Oliver, why did Lufthansa choose the CRJs over the Embraers? Honestly, that's a good question. I mean, the CRJs are leaving the Lufthansa fleet slowly as well, so I'm kinda led to believe that the CRJs are probably a little bit smaller than the Embraers, and they just needed that. So the Embraers just a little bit too large. That's my guess over here. Since Lufthansa has the A319 in its fleet, they can always use that as well. And the Mutus has asked, do I have any info about the Twin Otter from Aerosoft, by the way? Yeah. In FS 2024, you can find it as a default airplane, so I'm concluding that after Aerosoft released it for FS 2020, Asobo has probably purchased the code, and then used it now as a default aircraft in FS 2024. So the default Twin Otter you see is actually the Aerosoft Twin Otter. Okay, so we're intercepting flight level 350, we'll accelerate to Mach 0.77, and that shall be sufficient for what we want to do on today's flights. Then, Leon has asked, does Lufthansa not use the Embraer 190 and 195 anymore? Not really, they're phasing them out. I'm not sure if they still have the last one maybe, but they're being phased out as we speak. So, 18 minutes to cruise level, flight level 350. Let's have another look into the flight plan down here, and top of climb should be 19 minutes with 2,400 kilograms. Remember, we loaded an additional 800, so we should have 3,200 kilograms, 19 minutes. 19 minutes is pretty much spot on, we needed a minute less, and we have 3,600, so we've saved a little bit of fuel there. I'm never gonna complain about saved fuel, huh? And Pata Patetica has asked, do the terrain and weather displays work? Yep, they do. And ammo, I haven't tried the Learjet in the new sim yet. And Oliver, when you flew the CRJ, auto throttle wouldn't hold the speed, so you had to do it manually. Is that normal? Well, that depends. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure if Aerosoft have actually modeled the auto throttle option for the CRJs. Actually, I think they didn't. So you will have to use manual thrust. Even though the detents down here are looking rather similar to what Airbus offers, the climb detent is not the same. It does not by default have an auto throttle in there. You have to handle your thrust manually. Actually, I'm not 100% sure if they model the auto throttle option. I know one exists in the real world. Let's just check the options over here. So nothing over here. Next page. Nope, they don't seem to model the auto throttle at all. But then again, that is realistic for the vast amount of CRJs flying. Only very, very few of them have an auto throttle available. And let's be honest, flying a CRJ is not very difficult. Maintaining the speed manually is fairly easy. So all you gotta do is small changes to your thrust. You know, right now we're at 87%. Monitor how the speed is behaving, and remember, you don't need to hold it exactly at 7.7. If you're anywhere between 7.9 and 7.5, you're good. So don't overdo this. And Matthew Presley, only the CRJ200 has an aftermarket auto throttle. Are you 100% sure that the newer ones don't have that option available? Alright, so we're now nicely on the way to Munich. We have 40 minutes to run to our landing over there. So let's go ahead and dial in the landing field elevation here for a moment. So that's the knob up here. I would appreciate if there was a little pop-up or something telling us the exact field elevation. That way we wouldn't have to look down all the way. We're looking at roughly 1500. And here we go, landing elevation 1500. And Matthew, not sure why exactly you're bringing up that kind of tone. You know, I'm type rated on a couple aircraft as well, and that doesn't mean that I know all the customer options available in them. So I know the options that my airline has, but that must not mean that there aren't, you know, options that another airline may have. But then again, I'm not saying that, you know, you're wrong. I'm just saying that... Wait a moment. Now the wind is increasing a bit, so let me show you how I normally handle that thrust. So you can see I've just reduced it a little bit by some 5%. And now just watch what the speed is gonna do. That way you can fly it fairly easily. And Matthew, auto throttle. It's not possible with the FADEC controlled CRJs, only the non-FADEC, and the only one that is non-FADEC is the 200. Alright, well that's an interesting background. Thank you for that. So, a little bit bumpy still. Tell you what, let's turn the fasten seatbelt sign back on. And here we go. So, John, what's the blue thing that's going to stick back and forth on the nav display? Probably mean that one. That's the radar beam of our weather radar. And ammo, can you use your wing throttle? I don't know. If it works in other aircraft, it'll probably work here. You just gotta run over to the options and make sure that it's properly configured. That's it. The details of how to configure it are available in the product manual. Now, Pata Patetica, very good question. CRJ or Embraer 145? Which one? Huh. Probably the CRJ, just because it is more common in the real world. But if I had to choose in the real world, I honestly don't know. The Embraer definitely seems like an interesting aircraft. Bruits Mo, do the 2024 INSIM charts work on the EFB? I don't think they do. No, I don't think they do. Only the Navigraph charts are working in here for the time being. But be sure to push Hans a little bit. He's doing a lot of things. He is doing a lot of things when you just put enough pressure on him. Alright, so, in terms of maintaining our speed, you can see it's reduced to 7.7 again, so let's increase our thrust again, back to around 87%-ish. Like this, and now the airplane should maintain its Mach number once again. So the key to maintaining a speed in any jet aircraft without an auto throttle is just to maintain the thrust at a constant setting, see how things evolve, and then just do small adjustments. You know, 1 or 2% is normally enough. And German sim aviation, it's so impressive how you know everything about an aircraft which you never flew in real life. Well, I definitely don't know everything about the CRJ. I absolutely wouldn't say so. I'm sure there are some people here in the comments, such as Matthew, you know, who know a lot more about the airplane than I do. But, of course, I've been using flight simulators for a long time now. I've been beta testing the CRJ, you know, back in the days of the very first CRJ release for FSX and P3D. And, well, you know, over those like 15 years or so beta testing aircraft and flight simulator, I built up a little bit of knowledge about many different aircraft, but a lot of questions you guys ask can easily be answered with general ATPL knowledge as well. So I think it's one of those things, you know, where you just look smarter than you actually are. Which is maybe the best thing, or the best answer to actually give to that. And Matthew, exactly. I know a little bit about the CRJ, just like you know a little bit about the A330, but obviously I wouldn't, you know, obviously I wouldn't call myself an absolute expert on the aircraft. And I'm sure if any type rating examiner would watch this video, I would certainly not be granted a type rating check on the airplane with this. That's for sure. That's for sure. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring up the VNAV window. Top of descent in 19 minutes, 141 nautical miles. However, let's help it a little bit. So Let's see, Landu level 319. No, most definitely not. Let's bring this up. So, destination Munich, and then we do need some general airport charts here. Airport and parking stands east. And then we do need the star charts as well. Landu to 6 transition, and last but not least the ILS 26 left and the ILS 26 right. So 26 right is what we plan to fly, and Landu transition coming in from over here. Now, let's go ahead and insert a little altitude restriction. So we're most likely gonna fly more or less straight in out of Landu. So let's insert, I don't know, say 8,000 feet or so. Like this, and execute. So, what's this doing now? Top of descent in 218 miles. No, definitely not. There's something wrong here. Let's see on the VNAV page if we can find any info over here. I think entering that altitude restriction has kinda messed with it now. Let's try something. Let's say flight level 100 at Vazix. See if that makes a difference. No. Alright, something is wrong and broken with this VNAV code up here. Now comes the big question. Can we trick it into fixing those VNAV indications here? What happens if I reduce that level 80 restriction? And why is Vazix actually a climb restriction down there? That's nonsense. Right, delete, execute. So look at that, we do get correct indications here without any constraint. Now let's see, what if we enter a descent constraint? So what if we make it 10,000 or below at Vazix? No, look at that. It makes this a climb constraint. That's nonsense. There's something broken over here. There's a bug somewhere. Well, in that case, let's do something that I don't really like doing. So let's go ahead and copy the active flight plan so that we've got a backup in the secondary, and then let's go up here. Prior to Gudek, we have Delta Mike 438. Let's enter it like this, and then we can put 438 after Landu. And that way, it should calculate a better descent for us as well. Look at that, top of descent in 7 minutes, but we had to remove the star in order to be able to achieve this. So that's a little annoying, unfortunately. And Derby Q, just a small note. The Delta Alpha Charlie November Mike uses a single Q indicator on the primary flight display. Can you still change that in version 2? Yes, you can. But let's just quickly monitor that turn over here, see how that's behaving. And that actually looks fairly good, doesn't it? No going left and right around the track. That's looking alright to me. But we'll see the real turn challenge by the time we pass Lula over there. That's gonna be the real one. Alright, so one thing we are gonna do already is to fly a holding over at Landu. We'll program that once we're actually in the descent, getting close to Landu. And it's gonna be 213 left-hand turns and 1 minute of lag time over here. So contact me 136.23.
And speed 280 knots on it.
Right is descending, light level 250, speed 280 knots or less.
München, Servus, Lufthansa 2189er, flight level 350.
Yes, Lufthansa 2189er, München radar identified, proceed direct Roding, when ready, descend to flight level 270.
Direct Roding, when ready, descent level 270, Lufthansa 2189er. Okay, direct Roding, Romeo Delta Golf,
1, connect radar 128.030.
So, let's see how it's gonna handle that direct.
Radar 128.030, Lufthansa 501, negatives.
The flight director is still going left and right a little bit, but the airplane is flying a dead steady bank. I like that. A little bit of improvement still possible on the flight director, but it's getting there. Okay, cool. And when ready, descend flight level 270, so let's already dial that one in. And 270 checked. Okay, now the interesting question. With the top of descent on the direct segment, it looks like the top of descent is vanishing. And that still seems like a bug, so I'm certainly going to report that one.
What's the requested level today?
I'm certainly going to report that one over to Hans.
Yeah, requested level 5, level 2.
However, what we can do to help ourselves is go into the descent info down there, have a quick look over here, and once we reach 3 degrees, then we can just enter a normal descent. And Sherman Scott, yes, this is Flight Simulator 2024. And Oliver, when was the last major update on the CRJs prior to this one? I don't know, a couple of years back for sure. Alright, cool. So let's go ahead and do a little bit more of a setup here. So we're landing 26 right today. Frequency 108.7. And that's set active nav1 and nav2. Minimum is 1,649.
Continue present heading for straight in approach.
Continue present heading for straight
So
in
that's a little bit of scrolling right now.
Mike Charlie, continue
And Uncle 767, how did I fix the Munich scenery? I'm using the Simwing scenery, and that one never had the issue in the first place.
Negative, remain on this frequency. It was the information that you can expect and straight in approach.
Ah, sorry, I misunderstand that one. We expect them straight in approach, Lufthansa 2 Mike Charlie.
Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, contact 128.030.
I've scrolled a little bit too much here.
Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, schönen Abend noch.
One of the funny things, my mouse wheel doesn't really stop that easily, it just keeps scrolling at times, and that then causes the wheel to keep moving here.
For straight in runway
Here we go.
left.
Okay, so 16... What is it again? 1649.
Descend to flight level 110.
Descending.
Here we go, 1649 is set. Then, quick check on the descent info, 2,500 feet a minute, that sounds about right to me. So, vertical speed -2.5. Let's reduce our thrust a little bit. The seatbelts are on already.
Lufthansa 289er, proceed direct V6, descend to flight level 110, cross V6 at level.
Lufthansa 289er, direct V6, descent level 110 to cross at level.
Lufthansa 161, approved to leave, nothing further.
Okay, 110, direct 2, and V6 to cross 110 at level.
Lufthansa 161, approved to leave, frequency, goodbye.
And for some reason it's still inserting that as a climb constraint. That's the reason why our VNAV is rather useless up here right now.
4 Alpha Romeo identified, proceed direct Roding,
Okay,
and
so
descend to flight level
we
270.
can work over that though. So down here we can see 2,400 feet a minute is what we
Roding
require.
descend 270 for the 4 Alpha Romeo.
So that's what
And
I'm going to do
Lufthansa
down here.
161, there is no further ATC, approved to leave. Cheers.
Alright, cool.
Thank you very
So,
much, and just Lufthansa 161.
Lufthansa 2 Mike Charlie, contact radar 128.030.
So, a lot of things happening at the same time in the radio right now, but let's go ahead and go for the briefing.
Hello, Speedbird 9 Kilo
Just gotta pay good attention to ATC here that we don't miss anything.
At level.
Okay, so it will be a radar vector to ILS approach runway 26 right. Minimum is going to be 1649, and in case of go around straight at 1 mile or 1900, whichever is later, right turn to Mike November Whiskey to hold. And we do have, well, like 45 minutes of extra fuel right now. Okay, perfect. So, flight director guided ILS approach. We will fly it automatically to see how the autopilot is going to behave on that one. Now,
1157, nothing
we
further,
have
please,
a flaps 45 landing, no auto brakes in this aircraft, so manual braking to vacate the runway to the left, and then we'll see about where we are going to park. And, well, that's mostly it. And Brandon, I don't intend to do a go-around, but we will definitely do a holding, if ATC permits us to. And if they don't permit us to do it on this sector, then we're gonna do it on the next.
Hello, Lufthansa 11 Yankee, News Squawk 1000, and please confirm
Okay,
current level.
yeah, that's pretty much it for the briefing. Any questions? No? Perfect.
Squawk 1000.
I'm gonna skip the passenger announcement here, the first officer can do that one. So, Matthias, hi, nice to see you in the comments. Can you click the button on the pen? No, you can't. Not simulated.
Identified News Squawk 1000.
No. That's not real quality, huh?
1000, Top Swiss 5 Whiskey Whiskey.
Alright.
Lufthansa 125, contact radar 128.030.
Radar 128.030.
And Derby, yes, you're right. It's just a sneak peek. The release date is still Tuesday. So, Captain Keanu, would I say the CRJ is good in terms of buying it? Yeah, it certainly would. It has a couple issues. Definitely has. But in terms of what you get as, you know, as your standard flight sim aircraft these days, I would definitely say it's still good. So, the sun is slowly going down. I think the sun will probably just about hit the horizon by the time we touch down. And hui, TCAS works as far as I'm aware. And Oliver, no, the bathroom is not simulated. Palom JP, yes, it will be a free update for owners of the current CRJ version. Man, this looks pretty good. This looks pretty darn good. Ben Aura, what is the best aircraft in MSFS? Well, if you're a Boeing guy, it's the PMDG 777. If you're an Airbus guy, it's the Phoenix Airbus. And if you're neither, then it's either one of the two.
132.6, German Airport 569.
And Banana Man, have I ever flown the Concorde in any sim? Not on the channel. Back in the day when FS Labs released theirs in FSX, I did fly that one a little bit, but let's see. If they ever release a Concorde in Flight Sim 2024, then I'm definitely going to fly it. And STRIX, is the CRJ better now? What bugs have I found? Yes, it's definitely better. In terms of bugs that I found, well, I think the most glaring one that we face at the moment is the fact that the descent calculations seem to get ruined when you're on a direct segment or when you enter a manually entered constraint. That really seems to cause some issues, which are rather unfortunate, but which I'm definitely going to contact Hans about, so that he can fix that stuff. Might not make it into the initial release of the update, but hopefully into a later one.
We haven't received that message, stand by, but we have got the log on 1 moment.
So to confirm, proceed direct Oli 2.
Yep, we have that now, thank you. Proceed direct Oli 2.
And Matthew, something to keep in mind when with the CRJ when it comes to go-around is that it cannot be flown by the autopilot. Pressing the toga switches will always disconnect the autopilot. Alright.
Alpine 9er, 1 Echo Hotel, Hanoi identified.
And Captain Keanu, if all the versions are included, depends on which package you want to buy. There is a bundle of the 550 and the 700.
218er, contact radar 128, decimal 030 AD.
12803, Lufthansa 289, tschüssi.
Hello, speed 9 Kilo Yankee identified, send flight level 110, cleared to Rokiel 26 transition.
Speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee, descent to flight level 110 and cleared Rokiel 26 transition.
Correct. FedEx 3, reduce speed 230 knots.
Reducing 230 knots, FedEx 3 heavy.
Lufthansa 2 Mark Charlie, expedite descent 5,000 feet. 5,000 feet, Lufthansa 2 Mark Charlie, we increase our descent.
München, Servus, Lufthansa 289er, flight level 172, descending 110 inbound V6.
Guten Tag, Lufthansa 289 identified, reduce speed 250 knots, expect 26 right.
Speed 250, expect 26 right, and request run one round in the hold over Landu for testing purposes, Lufthansa 289er.
So 289er, roger, then descend flight level 100 and enter Landu holding.
Descent flight level 100, entering the Landu holding as published, Lufthansa 289er.
Departure, Speedbird 106 Super 7000.
Great speed 106 identified.
Okay, vertical speed minus 1000, speed 250, 10,000 is checked. So, Lando holding 213, left-hand turns, and since we're descending to level 100, we'll make it a leg time of 1 minute. There's a note number 1 somewhere. Oh, here. Only usable with basic RF equipment if unable to comply via ATC. Well, we should be able to comply. So, holding Lando. Then it should be 213 inbound, left-hand turns.
Turn right 230 and descend 4,000 feet, cleared for an S26 right, Lufthansa 2 Mike Charlie. Ocean 217 left heading 290, cleared LS26 left, maintain 6,000 feet until glide path.
That's interesting, when I enter 213, it gives me 215. Oh, try that anyway, and see how that's gonna work out. Definitely looks like very interesting line drawing over here.
Reducing speed to 230 knots.
Lufthansa 2406, descent flight level 100.
So, maximum speed 240. I will reduce that speed once we actually enter the holding, so...
125, turn left heading 230.
See how that holding's actually gonna work out. It's gonna be interesting to watch.
Heading, please.
Heading 230, brake, Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, speed 180 knots or greater to 6.
Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, speed 180 knots or greater until 6.
So, Hans, if you're watching along, that's the number 6 for you on that holding.
For the 125 to confirm, heading 230, intercept localizer.
But let's see if it flies it correctly at least.
Localizer 26 left.
04 Mike Charlie, cleared ATOS 26 transition.
And Oliver, what do I tell ATC if the holding doesn't work?
Well,
if it really doesn't work, I'm just gonna go into heading mode and fly it manually. John Glutney, I expect you to follow the track precisely. We'll see about it.
5,000 feet, cleared ILS.
We'll see about it. Something unpredictable says have to change the leg time.
Correct, that's the switch.
Oh yeah, good point. Should be a minute.
It's approved, 132... No, 136, 23, I believe.
Oh, that's interesting. Did you see that when I had not executed that yet, you actually get some sort of a hold on there? That doesn't look too bad.
Sorry, say again for 106 per.
Oh well, we'll see how that's gonna work. We'll see how that's gonna work.
23, speed for 106 super.
Hello, Postal 4 Mike Golf, identified flight level 100.
And average mythics, what's my favorite PMDG plane? Oh, that's most certainly the 777 for the time being. But let's see about the 747 when it comes.
6,000 feet, turn right heading 230.
6,000 right, 230, 521.
So, maximum speed 240. So let's reduce towards 240.
Carl NTI is off. Ocean 217, maintain speed 180 knots, operator to 6 miles.
I'll tell you what, for the holding itself, I'll actually go back towards 230, just to be on the safe side here.
From the 1 to 5, reduce speed 180 knots or less.
Reduce speed 180.
And then just to be on the safe side, 213 is the inbound,
217, contact tower,
so 033 is going to be the outbound flag. So let's just pre-select that heading, just in case we need it.
Speed 4 Mike Zulu, reduce speed 230 knots, descend to flight level 110.
Reduce 230.
So 033 is already selected.
München Hallo von der 4 Alpha Romeo.
And then we'll see. And it's PK, for my computer specs, just have a look into the video description.
Lufthansa 2406, turn right heading 080, descent altitude 6000 feet, QNH 1007.
So let's decrease displace a little bit.
Lufthansa 5 to 1, cleared ILS 2.
And then, the moment of truth had come. We're approaching Landu. Let's see what's gonna happen.
Lufthansa 2406, confirm QNH 1007.
1007, sorry, it's also 2
So 230 knots. We'll make sure to maintain those precisely. Now, the moment of truth. Let's see, 0.7 miles, 0.6.
Climbing 190.
Oh, look at that, it actually updated the holding. That's looking a lot better now.
To altitude 7,000 feet, QNH 1007.
Oops.
F160 descent,
1,000 to go. 1,000 feet a minute.
Lufthansa 1 to 5, contact 120.505, tschüss.
120.505, tschüss.
Radar, hello, good afternoon. Lufthansa 1 Yankee.
Hello, Lufthansa 1 Yankee identified. Proceed direct Delta Mike 422. Thereafter.
So far so good.
To flight level.
Once we go wings level, let's have a look at the timing. We've entered 1 minute lag time, so let's make sure that it actually flies 1 minute lag time.
Speed 4 Mike Zulu, turn left heading 070, descend to altitude 7,000 feet, QNH 1007.
Left 070, descend altitude 7,000.
Altitude capture.
007.
Correct, FedEx 3, speed 180 knots, 26.
Speed 180 until 6 and establish the localizer 26 left, FedEx 3 heavy.
Gotcha, Lufthansa 5 to 1, free speed.
So now we should go wings level.
Postman 4 Mike Golf, contact radar 136.23, bye-bye.
I said we should go wings level.
136.23, Postman 4 Mike Golf, bye.
FedEx 3, contact tower.
That would have been too easy, huh? Okay, and there's actually traffic coming over there, so... Heading.
Lufthansa 2406, descent altitude 5,000 feet, speed 230.
Okay. It looked good for in the beginning, but no.
Lufthansa 330, good afternoon, identified, climb to flight level 150.
So yeah, we'll just turn back to 033 and then we'll make our turn back to Landu.
Lufthansa 8 Papa, contact 132.455.
So where's the other traffic?
455, Lufthansa 8 Papa.
Trying to get to 0 to 7. Where is he?
Descent 5,000 feet and QNH 1007, speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee.
Departure service Lufthansa 3
So where's the other traffic?
Procedure 26 right.
Oh, there he is.
Another 26 right again and turn right
Well,
heading
about 1,000
080.
below, so I suppose that's fine.
Say again, Lufthansa 3
about.
Yankee.
It's right heading 080.
Right, 080, Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee. Departure hold, this is 330 with the yacht.
Okay, so exit hold,
70.
legs,
Lufthansa 330, hello, identified, climb to
and
flight
we
level
could actually fly
150.
direct to Landu, please.
150, Lufthansa 330.
Or we can just ignore it and request radar
Lufthansa 5
vectors.
to 1, contact 118.705. Bye.
Secondary flight plan, activate, execute,
Lufthansa
direct to,
2406, turn left heading 340, descent 4,000 feet.
340, 4,000, 2%.
and execute.
Speed 4 Mike Zulu, descent altitude 6,000.
So, nav,
Descent 6,000,
and here we go.
Hello, Ryanair 34 Romeo identified, climb to flight level 190.
So, no, the holding did not work.
Flight 190, Ryanair 34 Romeo.
Lufthansa 219er, we are ready for the approach now when crossing Landu.
So the 219, Roger, I just need to delay you a bit, therefore turn right heading 250.
Right, heading 250, Lufthansa 2189er.
So the 4 Alpha Romeo,
Heading.
descent altitude 5,000 feet.
Down 5,000 feet, Lufthansa 4 Alpha
So I'm just going to maintain those 230 knots for the time being then.
das haben wir schon.
And I suppose we're going to get radar vector straight away, so let's go over to the localizer over here. And over...
Lufthansa 330,
Yeah.
contact 132.455, bye.
Alright, so direct to Gudek, intercept course 260.
Thank you, bye-bye.
And that's our extended center line.
2406, turn left heading 290, clear ILS 26 left.
290, cleared ILS 26 left, that's 240.
Speedbird 4 Mike Zulu, turn left heading 350.
Left 350, Speedbird 4 Mike.
So the 4 Alpha Romeo, turn right.
Alright, so we'll just stay on the delay vector for the time being over here. I guess it's probably because of the other aircraft over here. He's probably going to get base vector in a moment, and then we'll probably be turned behind him.
4 Mike Zulu, expect 26 left.
Expecting 26 left, 4 Mike Zulu, thanks.
Lufthansa 11 Yankee, descent to altitude 8,000.
So let's bring those intake lights up.
Lufthansa 11 Yankee, descent altitude 8,000 feet, QNH 1007. Lufthansa 4 Alpha Romeo, intercept localizer 26 right.
Intercept localizer 26 right, Lufthansa 4 Alpha Romeo.
Lufthansa 2189er, descent altitude 6,000 feet, QNH 1007.
Lufthansa 2189er, descent 6,000, QNH 1007.
Ryanair 34 Romeo,
6,000
contact
checked.
136.230.
136,230, Ryanair 34
Set
Romeo.
QNH.
Lufthansa 2406, speed 180 knots or less, contact 120.505.
Set QNH 1006, cross check passing, actually it's 1007. Cross check passing 9,300.
Ljubljana Kilo Yankee, turn
Checked.
left heading 070.
And we're going below 100, so landing lights are coming on, logo light is on, and smoking sign is
Speedbird 4
on
Mike Zulu, turn left
as
heading
well, and then
290.
last but not least the thrust reversers.
290, Speedbird 4 Mike.
And then let's do the approach checklist. Pressurization
So for Alpha Romeo, descent 4,000
is
feet,
set,
cleared ILS
CAS
26
checked,
right.
altimeters, QNH 1007, landing data.
Lufthansa 4 Alpha Romeo.
Speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee, turn
So
now
let's go
right
ahead and
heading
set that one,
30.
set all.
Heading 230, Speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee.
Alright, and that's the
Second
approach
right
checklist
heading
completed.
30, please.
Alright, heading 230, Speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee.
Lufthansa 15, flying with code.
For the 125, welcome back, another 26 left, turn left heading 080.
Turn left 080,
Lufthansa 11 Yankee.
Go ahead.
And fluff scripts, what do I prefer, the Flight Sim Studios Embraers or the Aerosoft CRJ? Oh, absolutely the CRJ. The FMS is so much more advanced, even though it has some issues. You know, I'd rather take some issues than not having something custom at all.
Cleared ILS 26 left.
5,000, cleared ILS 26 left, 4 Mike.
1,000 to go.
Speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee on the heading 230, cleared ILS 26 right.
Vertical speed.
Speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee on heading 230, cleared ILS 26 right.
Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, speed 220 knots.
Speed 220 knots, Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee.
Lufthansa 2189 is at 5,000 feet and turn left heading 090.
Descent altitude 5,000, left heading 090, Lufthansa 2189er.
Medic approach, KLM 296 for which you descending.
So, heading 090, here we go.
Hello, KLM 2964 identified, descent to flight level 110, direct data Mike 422,
So,
thereafter 429er.
can't spot the field just yet.
Descent to 110, 422, 422, KLM 2964.
Mention departure more in level 1 Pop Tango Juliet, flight level 70 inbound Delta Mike 064.
Hello, Emily 15 Tango Juliet identified, climb to flight level 190.
And Oliver, will I show the updated Flight Sim Studio Embraers once the update comes out? Yeah, probably.
Speedbird 4 Max Zulu, free speed, contact 120.
If they work in FS 2024, I'm probably not gonna go back to the old sim.
05 at free speed, 4 Max Zulu,
For the 4 Alpha Romeo, free speed 118.705, just.
free speed 18705, Lufthansa 5 Romeo, ciao.
LFS 1 Yankee, best rate so we can give you is 1,800.
Roger, give me the best rate contact 136. Sorry, 132.6.
Oh, John Glutney, no pressure at all. Let's make it a greaser. Oh yeah, let's definitely do that. It's been a while since I've landed the CRJ.
Climb altitude 6,000 feet.
It's gonna be an interesting one for sure.
Lufthansa is climb 6,000 feet to altitude 1007.
Lufthansa 2189 speed 230 knots.
Lufthansa 2189, 230 knots. That's what we're doing anyway.
I believe 1510 with Juliet contact 136.2 reaches.
136.2 1510 with Juliet.
And AO 1145, what hardware am I using? I'm using a Thrustmaster Boeing yoke. Apart from that, the same as for the Airbus.
3 Lima Yankee report, reason of go run.
Go run was because it's same approach, Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee.
Gotcha.
So, there's our field over there.
Lufthansa 125, turn left heading 050.
Left 050, Lufthansa 1.
So, awaiting the base vector, probably behind him.
Mission radar good, Ryanair 249er at flight level 160, checking in.
Hello, Ryanair 249, identified direct Delta Mike 422, descent to flight level 1.
You guys are excellent in the comments. The only MAGA I support. Make Aerosoft great again.
Delta Mike 422.
No politics, but I love it.
Delta 3 Lima Yankee, right heading 230, cleared LS26 right.
Right 230, cleared LS26 right, Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee.
Lufthansa 125, turn left heading 360.
So, we could get our base turn any moment now. I think the guy in front is the 3 Lima Yankee.
Correct. Hello, Lufthansa 1 Hotel Romeo, identified, expect 26 right.
And he's going base right now, so it'll be our turn behind him.
Cleared Rokiel 26 transition.
Striking scorp, no pressure. Oh yeah, no pressure at all. It'll be easy.
26.
And if I can do this with 300 people watching, I can do this with, well, 700 watching? Who knows, I might get to fly an A380 after all.
Speedbird 9, Yankee, please confirm 80 knots, maintain to 6 miles.
Speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee, please confirm free speed.
Negative, Speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee, reduce and maintain speed 180 knots to 6 miles final.
Speed 180 knots to 6 miles final, Speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee.
KLM 296, descent to flight level 90.
So again, in case you guys are wondering how I'm maintaining the speed over here, it's still small changes. Couple percent only. And that way it works pretty well.
6,000 feet until glide path.
You can see I had just removed about 4% N1 to reduce my speed a bit. Now we're on speed, so I'm increasing again by a few percent. And that's how it works pretty well. And Malta's strobe light is off. No, it's not. It's on.
Turn left 290 and maintain 6,000 percent.
Lufthansa 2189, turn right, heading 230, cleared LS26 right.
Direct Mebec.
Lufthansa 2189, right heading 230, cleared LS26 right.
Speedbird 9 Kilo, Yankee reduced now final first speed.
Okay, heading 230.
18.705, bye.
Then we're 24 miles out, so it will take us a little while to intercept that ILS.
Final first speed, Speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee choke.
And HB Tim, nope, this plane does not have an auto throttle.
Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, free speed.
Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, free speed.
But as you can see, it's fairly easy to control.
190.
Climbing 190, Lufthansa 270.
Ryanair 249, proceed direct Delta Mike 427, expect 26 right.
Definitely gonna get some noise complaints down here.
249, was that for me?
Confirm Ryanair 249, direct Delta Mike 427, expect ILS 26 right.
Delta Mike 427, expect
localizer capture.
Runway 26 left, Ryanair 249.
Even though this might seem a little bit early for localizer capture.
Let's
Let's go back to heading for a moment.
Passing 160, descending flight level 130.
And approach again.
Guten Tag, Lufthansa.
Oh, localizer capture.
47 takeoff.
That's definitely too early.
Lufthansa 125 cancel approach.
Must have been one of those last minute changes that they've done.
Approach left 210.
On Lufthansa 2189.
So the real question... Did he just try to call us? Doesn't sound like...
6 Delta Echo contact 132.6.
He didn't. Alright, that's cool with me.
Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee Tower 118.705. Tschüss.
Tower 118.705, Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, schönen Tag.
So, the localizer should come in any moment now.
5,000 feet, QNH 1007.
Descent 5,000 feet, 10 QNH 1007, and KLM 2964.
Ryanair 249, send flight level 9.
And it's going straight through the localizer. Lovely. Okay.
Lufthansa 125, turn left heading 100.
Autopilot off.
Left 100, Lufthansa 1.
Lufthansa 2189, the localizer failed on us. We are re-intercepting now.
Lufthansa 2189, roger. You could continue right heading 270 to intercept.
Heading 270 to intercept Lufthansa 2189. Okay, so they killed it. In that case, flat rector off.
Welcome back.
Let's enjoy doing this manually. This did work on my previous test flight, but Hans has done a little change, which is so far untested, which is probably the reason why we have this right now. Okay, glide slope alive.
Lufthansa 2189, report established, free speed.
Lufthansa 2189, localizer established, free speed.
Jordan, roger, tower 118.705, tschüss.
118.705, Lufthansa 2189, tschüssi. So,
Lufthansa 125, turn left heading 290, descent altitude 5,000 feet.
Left, Lufthansa 2406 on PRSL.
Flaps 1. Speed check, flaps 1.
Lufthansa 2406, contact Apron 121.710, ciao.
121,
And flaps 8.
Lufthansa 2406.
Speed check, flaps 8.
Speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee, contact departure 123.905, see you later.
123.905, Speedbird 9 Kilo Yankee, bis gleich.
Lufthansa 3 Hotel Tango, wind 200 degrees 5 knots, runway 26 right, clear for takeoff.
Over 26 right, clear for takeoff, left and back, here, tango.
Lufthansa 764, wind 200 degrees 5 knots, runway 26 left, clear for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, Lufthansa 764.
München Tower, Servus, Lufthansa 2189, ILS 26 right. Glide slope capture.
Lufthansa 2189, München Tower, hello, wind check 200 degrees 5 knots, continue number 2.
Number 2, Lufthansa 2189.
For Alfa Romeo, November 3.
Okay, go around altitude 5000 is set, and
Lufthansa
we have
4
glide
Alfa
slope
Romeo,
capture.
contact Apron 121.710, ciao. Apron 121.710, Lufthansa 4 Alfa Romeo, ciao. Lufthansa 38242, arrivals ahead.
Roger, 3824.
Okay, so nicely established, 9 miles out. We'll maintain the speed for the time
Lufthansa 3
being.
Lima Yankee, wind 200
At 6
degrees
miles, I'll
5
continue
knots, runway
configuring
26
the
right, clear
aircraft.
to land. Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, clear to land 26 right.
So the preceding is like 3 miles ahead, if I can see the TCAS correctly there. By the way, for those who asked about how well you can fly the aircraft, well, look at this. You can more or less perfectly trim it out on the ILS.
Lufthansa 764, continue climb to flight level 190.
Climb to 190, Lufthansa 764.
Lufthansa 3 Hotel Tango, continue climb to flight
Okay,
level
7
80.
miles. Let's bring it down to 6 miles, and then we can configure it for landing.
Lufthansa 764, contact departure 127.955, ciao.
Contact departure 127.955.
So we're at 6 miles, gear down, flaps 20.
Lufthansa 3 Hotel Tango, contact departure 123.905, ciao.
And set VRF please.
123.905, Lufthansa 3 Hotel Tango, tschüss.
So, flaps 30, speed check, flaps 30, and flaps full. Speed checked, flaps full. Okay, sorry, that's the Airbus pilot talking here.
Hello, Lufthansa 5, ILS. 26 left.
Lufthansa 125, München Tower, hello.
Okay, final checklist. Cabin
degrees,
ready, thrust reverser armed,
26
landing gear
left.
down, flaps 45. Final checklist complete.
6 left, clear to land, Lufthansa 15.
So, 700 people watching, we better get this right now.
Lufthansa 2189er, wind 200 degrees, 5 knots, runway 26 right, clear to land.
Runway 26 right, clear to land, Lufthansa 2189er.
Lufthansa 3824, behind next landing company CRJ900, 3 mile
Check.
final, line up runway 26 right, behind.
So we're all stable, nicely established.
Landing company, line up.
Let's make it a good one.
Lufthansa 3824.
Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, taxi to entry November 3 via Mike Alpha 9.
Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee.
Still getting used to handling that thrust
Mike at Alpha 9.
here, so there are a little bit more variations in our airspeed than I would like, but I tend to say we can get it rather stable.
412 requesting pushback and throttle.
A little bit of dust coming in as the wind is going over those rows of trees down there.
710, see you later.
Munich Tower, Lufthansa 9 Kilo Mike Flow.
Lufthansa 9 Kilo Mike, München Tower, hello. Taxi to holding point runway 26 right by November, Alpha 13.
Taxiing to holding point runway 26 right via November and Alpha 13.
Perfect. So, spoiler, reverse green, decel.
Eurowing 6 and 9 Juliet, München Tower, hello. Taxi right onto Mike, hold short of Alpha 6.
Mike, hold short Alpha 6,
70 knots.
Munich Tower, KLM 296 on final 10 mile for ILS 26 right. KLM 296.
And here we go, easily made the first exit. That's what I love so much about the CRJ. So easy to handle.
Roger, KLM 296. Lufthansa 3824, wind 200 degrees, 5 knots.
Alright, with that, welcome to Munich, everyone.
Clear takeoff 26 right, Lufthansa 3824.
Lufthansa 2189er, give way to company Airbus A320 from
so
a right on a Mike, thereafter taxi to entry November 3 via Alpha 9.
Lufthansa 2189er, number 2 beyond the company 320, thereafter entry November 3 via Alpha 9. Oh, come on, we could easily have been in front of him. Well, let's stop it here for a second.
Currently not at the gate just yet. I'll have to actually just sit here and keep the seatbelts fastened until we get to the gate. Once we do get there, I'll have the seatbelt sign off and we'll be free to move on.
By the way, that's a fairly nice announcement in the background there. The captain telling people that we are not at the gate just yet.
Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, contact apron on 121.710, ciao.
Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, apron 11710, schönen Abend noch, tschüss.
KLM 296.
So, that's the A320. As you can see, we could easily have been in front of him.
26 right, clear to land. Clear to land, 26 right, KLM 2961.
So I'm not sure what you guys think you heard. There's no one around.
121.710, ciao.
121.71, Lufthansa 2189er, tschüss.
New ground, please start Lufthansa 4366.
Lufthansa 222, radio check.
Lufthansa 412, pushback approved, face south.
Turkish 280 information from your request clearance to Istanbul. It's filed.
Turkish.
So it looks pretty busy on this apron, doesn't it? John Kirby, where's the landing gear? They don't need that. They've got repulsor lift stock up there.
Okay, first the Turkish again, say a stand again.
Stand C40.
There is no one at 348 on my map. Please check your position and also if you have filed a flight plan because...
So this might take a little while now until we get our taxi clearance.
Lufthansa 1 Yankee Tango, request taxi.
Lufthansa 1 Yankee Tango taxi via Echo 3 Orange Line, Delta 3 Orange Line, hold short on Echo 2.
2 Orange. Delta 3 Orange, Echo 2, Lufthansa 1 Yankee Tango.
Lufthansa 240 complex.
Ha, much too loud out there.
Taxi to stand 255 via Center 2.
255 at Delta 2, Delta 2 for you.
And coordinators asked, where did I get the checklist for the CRJ? I looked at some Lufthansa CityLine videos and then used paint.net to rebuild that checklist. So I'm using the Lufthansa CityLine checklist
Lufthansa
here.
3 Lima Yankee, grüß Gott, expect stand 3, actually taxi to stand 310.
Hajani just took off ahead of you as Lufthansa 3 Hotel Tango. Hi!
And Echo 3.
Apron, moin, Lufthansa 2189er, entry November 3.
Lufthansa 3 Lima Yankee, stands 310 via Delta 1, Echo 2, Delta 6 and Echo 3.
Lufthansa 219 München, Apron, hallo. Lufthansa 1706, there's a company A330 passing behind you. Once you've done the push approved, face south on Whiskey 2.
Moving ground, Lufthansa 1911, requesting clearance to Stuttgart.
Lufthansa 1911, a number 4 for clearance.
So let's taxi forward to the hotshot line, so that we don't block the taxiway behind us. And then we'll just have to wait until we actually get taxi clearance here.
The taxi Center 2 and into stand 255, that's on your right side. Please swing over to the right.
Which is the right side, the 240, 6 short of the 2.
Milligram mic check, Lufthansa 4366.
5-5. Lufthansa 1 Yankee Tango, taxi to entry Sierra via Echo 2.
So, where is the hotshot line?
Lufthansa 1 Yankee Tango.
Lufthansa...
Fairly hard to see, but I think...
Station calling for clearance. Lufthansa 47X, number 6 for clearance.
So, he did say hello to us, but...
Cargo, correction, Lufthansa Cargo 844.
I have a feeling we'll have to annoy him again to actually get our taxi clearance.
Entry 04 via Romeo, Lufthansa Cargo 8440.
Lufthansa 2189, taxi to stand 348 via Delta 1, Echo 2, Delta 6 and Echo 3 and Delta 3.
Lufthansa 2189er, taxi gate 348 via Delta 1, Echo 2, Delta 6, Echo 3, Delta 3. Oh boy. Okay. So Delta 1, Echo 2, Delta 6. That's the first thing that counts for us. So, taxi light on. Let's make sure we get it rolling.
906. Confirm you're pushing.
Negative, did you call me?
Several times. Lufthansa 1796, push approved, face south.
Ja, dann habe ich es entweder überhört oder alles nicht mitgekriegt. Push approved, facing south, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we'll initially go over to the left-hand side, and then when we're over there, we are eventually going to check where the further clearance leads us. So Delta 1, Echo 2, Delta 6.
Blocked.
Okay, nobody there on the right, so let's head over here and then off to the right-hand side.
Cargo 8440, ciao, danke.
Easy 88638, holding point November 1. Easy 8638, contact tower on 118.
Striking scope, that's a good one. God forbid you don't do a proper readback on a German ATC in a busy environment. Yep. To be fair to them, they got to make sure that people don't just go anywhere when it's that busy, as it's very easy to, you know, very easy to get the entire apron messed up here.
Swing over to Echo 2, taxi to entry Sierra 8 via Echo 2.
Alright, cool. So we're on Delta 6 right now, and we continue via Echo 3 and Delta 3. Stand 348.
And all stations, if you're able to make CC request, please do so instead of doing it via voice.
Viewing 55 request push and start.
Viewing 55 push approved, face off.
By the way, I really like the decision of the controller that he just made to tell all aircraft that are looking for IFR clearance to request it via text rather than voice. That really relieves the frequency, and that should really help him get hold of all that traffic over here.
Then Lufthansa 6 unit from X-ray.
6 for X-ray, go ahead.
Lufthansa 6 unit
okay, cool. So we are going to turn on Echo 3 now, which is over to the right-hand side.
Lufthansa SIP to flight level 70 squawk 1000.
Clear to Basel, also to Sierra departure, climb via SIP 70 squawk 1000, Lufthansa 6 unit X-ray.
Is that correct? Lufthansa 412.
So that's Echo 3 over here. Now our parking stand is going to be 348. Let's see if we can get GSX for that one.
Winging over to
so that's probably going to be apron number 3.
Kitchen Garden, so that's here, Kishari Chanabim, distance 346, requesting push and start.
Follow me, no thanks. Handling by shitport.
Lufthansa 15, falling short at Sierra 7.
Unit ground, start, Lufthansa 4366.
Lufthansa 2 Yankee Charlie, there will be company traffic behind you. Once he's in his parking spot on your left-hand side, push approved, face west.
When clear of the company, push and start approved, facing west, Lufthansa 2 Yankee Charlie.
Ground hello, Lufthansa 105 at Sierra 7.
So straight ahead over here, and then we've almost made it to the gate. Almost.
Lufthansa 4366, push approved, face west onto Delta 3 Blue Line.
So, someone just got a push on the Delta 3 Blue.
Lufthansa 412, contact tower on 120.505.
So now, of course, we are cleared via Delta 3 Center.
Lufthansa 412, contact
and I'm not 100% convinced that they can just put us onto the center line with someone pushing onto the blue over here. But let's find out. Maybe it's just the other way around.
Lufthansa 125, taxi to stand 254 by
so stand 348. I do believe that's off to the right-hand side, but let's have a close look. No, 348 is on the left. Okay, so that's the way.
254.
Then 254, sorry.
Ground, Lufthansa 994 Papa request clearance and number.
So Delta 3 on the left-hand side.
Lufthansa 9 Alpha Papa number 8 for clearance.
Ground, Lufthansa 6 request push and start.
So 348, look at that. GSX is of the opinion that the parking spot is the other way around. Congratulations, GSX. That is not correct.
Nigel, I tried to call you Romeo correctly to Istanbul via Rotax 3 Sierra departure flight and route
bye
to flight level 7
was nice to meet you, GSX. It's the same thing all the time, isn't it? So embarrassing, this program. But okay, I don't care. Go taxi forward to the line, bring it to a stop over there.
Level 70, after departure.
And here we go. I don't care about the rest of it now. So, parking brake is set, then... Let's just switch that jump light on over here. APU is available. And then shut down 2, shut down 1.
And, yeah, must not my sorry, is that 19.
And let's leave that ATC frequency to get a little bit of silence here. And with that, welcome to... welcome to Munich. Alright, cool. Engines are running down. Here we go. So, bacon off. Seatbelts off, hydraulics off, and fuel pumps off. Alright, cool. So, parking checklist please. Almost at least. Here we go. That's better. And let's just turn those lights on. That's looking better, isn't it? Okay, parking checklist. Park and brake. On, thrust levers. Shut off, fuel pumps, off, ignition, off, anti-ice, off, low, off. External lights set, hydraulics off, trims centered, flaps 0, radar and transponder is off and standby, and nose wheel steering off, parking checklist complete. Now comes the question of all questions, is GSX still gonna work? No. Alright, revoke parking services. Let's see if we can reset this somehow, or if we can't. And I suppose we'll just have to figure. And Oliver, why do the fuel pumps say in-up instead of off? Honestly, I have no idea. It's Canadian. Bought by the Japanese, so maybe anything or nothing. I have no idea. And to be honest, I don't care too much either. Alright. Anti-cooperative, those lights seem to get on way too fast. Why would they? I mean, it's lights. When you turn a normal light on, it comes on pretty fast, doesn't it? Of course I'm scrolling on it pretty fast. I mean, I can do it, you know, like, in a very slow way as well, but, you know, if you turn the switch up fast, why wouldn't it come on fast? I don't see any reason for that. Okay, cool. And Alex, yeah, the bug with the radio altimeter 10 call out versus 0 seems to be somewhat fixed, but I'm not 100% sure of it. Well, for the time being, let's see if GSX has properly reset itself, or if it hasn't. And of course it hasn't. Well, that's fine, then we just gotta do that stuff ourselves. So, open that up, please, and let's extend that door. Well, and with that, welcome to Munich! That was our first flight of the day, and look at that, another CRJ over there. Who would have thought we'd see another one just yet? Well, so, with the first sector done, let's go ahead and prepare the aircraft for a second one. And most importantly, let's get inside and turn that taxi light off. Maybe that is what held off GSX? No, of course not. Now the interesting question, how are we gonna get out of this stand if GSX is not available for pushback? Sometimes I just hate it, huh? Well, I suppose there's no further comment needed on that one. So, Charlie, where will we fly to next? And yeah, guys, we did try to reset Throttle. It didn't work. And toolbar pushback is unfortunately not installed at the moment. Striking score, reposition via GSX. Yeah, probably. The only problem is GSX wants to turn the aircraft 180 degrees around so that we could just taxi out again. And I don't think that that's correct for the stand. I honestly have absolutely no idea how to do that properly, but I tell you what, let's first of all go ahead and start to plan our next sector. So next we are gonna fly onto Ljubljana, which has a really, really beautiful approach. So Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie is gonna be that call sign. And, well, then I'm gonna show you how I would go ahead and plan a flight like that. So let's head over into SimBrief up here. Or rather, let's head over into Flight Radar 24, because that's where I get my data. You can see this is today's flight of the Lufthansa from Munich to Ljubljana on the CRJ900. And of course it had returned to Munich. Whoopsie. Everything good so far? Oh, no, we would rather go back. Well, anyway, we are gonna plan that one. And Fred738, thank you very much for the $5 donation. Hello, is the update everything we thought it would be and more? GSX, you're fired. I think it is a lot of what we wanted it to be. There's a bit more stuff that Hans can fix. such as the holdings, or we also had some problems with the interception of the ILS, but those are work in progress, just to remind you guys of that, because we did actually have a beta version on this one. This is not the final release. So Lufthansa 1696. So you guys can now see the full procedure of how I would normally plan my flights over here. So we're going from we're going from MUK to LJ on a CRJ9, and obviously we are gonna use the Aerosoft variant, and we're in the Delta Alpha Charlie November Mike. Cost index, well, we don't have one. We are gonna use Mach 7.4 as cruise profile. Now for the call sign, it's Lufthansa 9er Juliet Charlie. I have to correct myself. D Lufthansa 9er Juliet Charlie. Alright, in terms of our passengers, let's actually make it completely full. 90 guests on board. 26 left seems correct. Now for the scheduled block time, it seems to be 50 minutes. Sometimes it's 55. I'll tell you what, we're gonna take 55 because we do have rather a lot of traffic over here, so the block time is definitely gonna get a little bit longer. Well, apart from that though, let's go ahead and run calculate and compare, see what we're gonna get. And remarks, 1 error, limited by max landing weight. Question is, why is the zero fuel weight so high? Respectively, why is the payload 9,000 kilos? Doesn't make much sense. Alright, tell you what, let's quickly change that SID to the VAWA 3 Sierra. And then I'm just gonna generate the flight, and thereafter I'll have to regenerate it quickly, and then we should get a final flight plan. So, maximum cargo 1,575, otherwise the aircraft is full. Flight level 210 is the planned flight level. That may be a little bit low for 41 minutes of flight time. The real one made it to flight level 270, I believe. Yep, 270 over here. And let's just open another one to see how high they went. And also 270. Well, I'll tell you what, if you've got two aircraft going to level 270, then we're going to do the same. And for the zero fuel weight, I think we'll set it down a little bit. 30 tons should be sufficient. So, zero fuel weight, let's get it right down here, is going to be 30 tons, and then we want flight level 270. Alright, cool. Then let's generate that flight once again, and see what we're going to get. So, someone asked in the chat if the heads-up display works. The answer is yes, and we are gonna give it a try on today's flight. Or rather, on this second flight just now. To show you guys how the heads-up display in that CRJ actually works. Alright, apart from that, let's go ahead and start setting it up. Now, Coopinator, is it possible that I publish the checklist that I used? I gotta check, because copyright may be an issue. I gotta check that. Well, in any case, let me quickly pre-file that flight in the background, and when that's done, then we can start setting up for the second sector. So Lufthansa 9er Juliet Charlie is pre-filed on VATSIM, and we are logged in as 9er Juliet Charlie as well. Alright, perfect. So, that much for our basic setup. Then let's take a seat again and start setting it up. So, in regards for the question of the heads-up display, I think here's your answer, my friend. The only thing I gotta do is dim it down a little bit. I think that's much nicer here. Alright, cool. So we can reset that timer, then let's go down into the electronic flight bag, flight plan, and import OFP. And here we are, flight 1696 from Munich to Ljubljana. Okay, cool. So, the weather seems very good at our destination, but let's have a quick look into the flight plan itself. Again, this has been newly added with the recent update. So, destination Ljubljana has pretty good conditions and it will stay like that as well. Getting a couple of showers later in the night, but that shall not be much of a problem. Destination alternate Frankfurt, yeah, I highly doubt that. Sometimes I really don't understand Simbrief's flight planning, but, well, we'll just accept it like that. Alright, if we depart on time, we arrive on time, just about. And then we don't really need any extra fuel, so if we look at this, 4,200 is the minimum, and that's exactly what we are gonna take. So let's head over here, set payload and fuel, and then on the performance page, adding 100, and that's it. So, chocks in position, ground power is connected now as well. Let's actually switch that on, and APU off. And the brake can release as well, so that they can cool a little bit. Here we go. Alright, nice. Then let's start setting it up for our next flight. So, again, you can type the entire flight plan in manually, or you just go over here, flight plan, and send to FMS. And when you do that, it's automatically uplinking the Simbrief flight plan in here. Munich to Ljubljana, alternate. Interestingly enough, it shows a different one over here. So, Lufthansa 9er Juliet Charlie will be our flight number. And then for our departure, runway 26 left, and we're departing via Vavor. So that's going to be the Vavor 3 Sierra departure. Execute that. And for the arrival, we've got runway 30 with an ILS approach. Our scheduled arrival is the Degum to Lima arrival. So that's going to be this one over here. And then let's have a quick look into the charts. So use FMS flight plan, Ljubljana, star, and we're looking for Degum to Lima. Here it is. And that's going straight down to the VOR. Okay. And for the approaches, ILS 30 off the VOR, and then we can take the Ljubljana transition. Alright. And execute that. Now onto the performance pages. And let's continue working on this. In the meantime, William, thank you very much for the €5 donation. This may be a weird question, but what happens when the brake doesn't work while doing the rolling brake check? Should I just pull the parking brake? Yeah, absolutely. Now, I can't tell you about the CRJ, but for the Airbus we actually have memory items in case of a brake failure, and that's immediately go to maximum reverse, then you release the brake pedals and switch to alternate braking by putting the alternate brake nose wheel steering switch to the off position, and then you try the wheel brakes again, and if that doesn't work you use the parking brake. And all of that while you already use the thrust reversers to stop the aircraft. Alright, cool. So that much about the brake failure. Now let's get back into setting this aircraft up. We said we are cruising in flight level 270. And the alternate cruise level, let's see what we've got in the plan about that. So view OFP, and here we go. Lima Juliet Mike Bravo, flight level 090. That's pretty low. But okay, if that's what they planned, then 9,000 it is. 30,000 tons, and the fuel is 4,200. Alright, execute that. VNAV setup, transition 5,000 to 90.74 is okay, and 300.74 is okay, and that's good. Alright, cool. So on the performance, we'll use 55 degrees flex temperature, and that's pretty much everything we need. The window can go to on, and that is on both sides. Excellent. So that's all we need down here. Electro-X Soldier, is the cockpit the same? Yeah, pretty much. They've done a couple of texture upgrades on the cockpit as far as I remember, but that's all over here. I do believe they still want to work on that, but don't quote me on it. Alright, so for our cockpit lights, there's actually not all that much that we've got to do over here. The signs are of course coming back on again. Down here everything is set. Nav source on to FMS please. Here we go. And we can get rid of the MDA. So then we don't need to do any tests down here. Toga mode is active, then we can set the runway heading. 260 and nav mode is armed. Alright, down here we don't really need to do anything else, so that's everything set up for our flight. Very good, so now comes the big task of attempting to get an IFR clearance, as it seemed rather busy there. So 1 to 1.71 is the frequency, and I think what I'm gonna do is just to send the clearance request via text. That way we're not going to annoy him on the voice frequency. I think that may be the easier thing to do for us.
Austrian 762 ready for taxi.
Austrian 762 taxi to entry Sierra 6 via Echo 1 and Charlie 5.
Taxi to entry Sierra 6 via Echo 1 and Charlie 5, Austrian 762.
So I've just sent my clearance request in vPilot via text. That way we are not going to annoy the traffic controller on voice.
Hansa 480, there will be a Turkish A321 passing north to south behind you. Once you have done that, push approved face north on Echo 2.
Roger, after the Turkish...
And his first answer was, confirm your text only. And I just told him, negative, but I don't want to annoy you on voice while you are busy. Okay, cool. So, here's our IFR clearance. Clear to Ljubljana via Vavor 3 Sierra departure. And that's Vavor 3 Sierra confirmed. So, flight plan route, converse sit, flight level 70, squawk 2330.
Hello sir, Air France 16 Foxtrot Yankee request standard clearance to Lima Fox Papa Golf information Sierra on board.
And flight level 70.
Yeah, call it back in a moment. Lufthansa 9 Alpha Papa, contact tower on 120 decimal.
Alright, and that's our IFR clearance entered. That's how quickly things can go.
Air Force 16 Foxtrot Yankee, information Sierra, cleared Paris, Charles de Gaulle by Give Me 1 November.
Okay, so, as Walker has asked, are the autopilot dials still really slow? No, they're not. Well, they are, depending on the option you select. So if you go into the options over here, you can see that you can control the knob acceleration, and you can also change the modes in which the altitude knob works. For instance, if we turn this on, then you can see it now works in steps of 500 rather than steps of 100. And the same for the speeds, which you can change in steps of tens rather than ones. So that's pretty good. Okay, cool. Andy, how about the sound? Well, it's been a little while since I've flown the CRJ without the Boris sound pack, so I can't tell exactly how the original CRJ sounded, but I think it is rather okay now. But Boris is still a little bit better, of course. Now, Boris will need to update his sound pack for the new CRJ, since some changes have been done to the sounds, but he has already received a version so that he can do the updates hopefully very soon.
Negative 120.505.
120.505.
Alright, cool. So by now we should have gotten our load sheet, so let's enter that. So it's 90 passengers and 336 kilos of cargo. So we have 90 passengers and 300...
clearance 20.
Yep, and that's looking good. 30.1, 34.3. Then let's head over here and take flaps 8, dry runway. I tell you what, let's actually do a flap 20 takeoff, because why not?
Guten Abend, KLM 24 Papa
Stand
110, information Sierra requesting IFR clearance.
Less than V1 and VR? No, that's not realistic. Okay, back to flaps 8. Alright, set all those speeds. And here we go, they're all set. So that's it. Alright, cool. Then, let's go ahead and start that APU again.
Clear
so APU
Geneva
power, waiting for the APU door to open.
Climbing flight.
And here we go, door open.
Squawk
Start up.
1000, galley 24 Papa.
So, while we're doing that, let's head back here, close that door.
Climbing to flight level 70, KLM 24 Papa.
Ground, KLM 176 Alpha will pass the Austrian 762 at north.
Alright, cool. So, that's done. Let's do the cockpit checklist, please. Passengers... What was that? Strange people on that sim. Okay, cockpit checklist. Passenger signs on, pressurization set, altimeters, QNH 1007 reading 1500. EVs and CAS checked, FMS checked, IRS aligned, nozzle steering off, cockpit checklist complete.
He should be moving within the next couple of moments. However, if you're able for a 180, you can taxi back via Whiskey 1 Charlie 1 Echo 1 up to you.
Let's close those cargo doors down here. The APU is available. So external power can go off and be removed. Wheel chocks are removed.
Swiss Air 551, stand 208 Sierra, ready for clearance to Zurich.
Swiss 551.
Well, and then we are pretty much ready. So last thing for us to do is to cross-check our SID and do the briefing, and when that is done, then we can request our engine startup.
Alright, cleared
So let's see, we're looking for the...
level 70 and squawk 1000.
Where is it? Vavor 3 Sierra departure. And that's, of course, on the very last of all charts. But I'm happy with that. So, straight at Delta Mike 049, our maximum 210 and above 1900 feet. And that's what we have. And Delta Mike 050, maximum 210. Ottersberg, maximum 250, Larkol and Vavor. And we have Ottersberg 250, and then we have Larkol and Vavor. Okay, so that's all cross-checked. Then let's do our departure briefing, please.
Lufthansa 6 Alpha Juliet, push and start approved.
Alright, thanks. So it's going to be left seat takeoff, Munich, runway 26 left, Vavor 3 Sierra departure, initial to 7,000, and the MSA is 3,700. We don't have any extra fuel. Alright, thanks. No hotspots for the taxi out, engine out sits straight at 25 miles. We're below the max landing weight, so we can come back immediately if we need to. We have no non-normals, we have no threats, and that's it for our briefing. Any questions? No? Wonderful. Then let's go ahead and request a startup.
Departure, climb to flight level 70, squawk 1000, Lufthansa 166.
So, please respond to the report.
Ground Qatari 9 X-ray holding short, Sierra 5.
Qatari 9 X-ray, München.
So, Padcott is out. Is the Elnaf and VNAF any better now? Elnaf certainly is. VNAF,
Charlie 3 and Echo 1.
Was buggy on the last flight. Let's see how it's gonna behave on this one.
Stand 113 X-ray via Whiskey 1 Charlie 3 and Echo 1 Qatari 9 X-ray.
München, Apron, Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, request startup on stand.
Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, startup approved, set squawk 2330.
Startup approved, and squawk should be 2330 already. At least that's what we've got in here. Let's see if that changes when I actually turn the transponder on.
Lufthansa 42, ready for taxi.
Okay, so startup is approved. We'll deal with the squawk when we request taxi in a few moments.
Lufthansa 40, taxi to entry November 4 via Echo 2.
To entry November 4 by Echo 2, Lufthansa
Okay,
40.
before start push checklist. Mobile devices off, beacon on, hydraulics on, doors.
16 Fox Yankee, request push and start, info Tango on board.
Okay, parking brake is on, fuel pumps and quantity. Pumps on, and we have 4,215 on board, 4,200 minimum required. Takeoff data, set, transponder, on 1, before start push checklist complete. Okay then, ground from flight deck? Ground from flight deck?
Stations new QNH 1008.
Okay, new QNH 1008. Okay, so we're ready for engine start. Please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and the bypass pin is installed. That's all confirmed, Captain. Alright, thanks. So, starting engine number 1. And interesting, you guys say Watson is louder than I am. Okay, well, let's try to change that. I've turned Watson down a little bit, so let me know in the comments if that's gotten any better once he starts to talk again. Right now, he's silent on the frequency. So, N2, oil pressure, N1. So now someone is talking. Let me know if that's any better now with the sounds.
Okay. Lufthansa 40 contact tower on 118.705 cruise.
And Fred738, thank you so much for the $5 donation. Does it still fly like a paper plane? Honestly, I never thought it would fly like a paper plane. I think it flies fine.
Confirm we are still clear for push and start.
Of course, it is a little bit more responsive than, you know, your A330 would be, but that's expected for a plane of this size.
Thank you, sir.
And Alex the Aviator, raising my own voice is a little bit difficult because that would cause it to do strange things. Okay, so engine 2 start. In case you've missed it, you gotta press and hold the start button for a few seconds before it actually starts to come on. You guys say Watson is still too loud. Well, turn it down a little bit more. Let me know how you like it now. So 20%. Fuel on. Oh yeah, some idiots are doing strange things on Watson here.
Requesting push and start.
So we do a fuel flow, and we should get ITT any moment. Someone of you said it might be rising a little bit late. Depends on the sensor. I mean, I could very well imagine that the sensor just doesn't pick up the low temperatures too well, so perhaps that's a little bit of a problem. Fred738, man, thank you so much for the $5 donation once again. You say it definitely flew like a paper plane in FX 2020. It was more responsive than most GA third-party aircraft. Well, that may not necessarily be wrong. You know, though... How do you say that best? You know, a 777, for example, is really responsive as well. Of course, this isn't a 777, and I have never flown a CRJ, but we did have a couple of actual CRJ pilots in the comments. If any one of those is still here, Matthew maybe? Maybe you can comment on that and tell me how you think it flies. I don't see something, you know, generally wrong with it. So, flight control check. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. And the rudder. Full left. Full right. And neutral. Okay, after start checklist. Anti-ice. Off, low, on. AC/DC. Making good music. And checked. So, fuel cross flow, auto, cast checked, nose wheel steering. And after start checklist complete.
North 426 left.
Pushback improved.
So then, let's go for taxi.
KLM 24 Papa.
Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, request taxi, and we're able to taxi straight out. Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, request taxi, able to taxi straight out.
Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, affirm, taxi to entry Sierra 8 via Delta 3 Blue and Echo 2.
Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, taxi entry Sierra 8 via Delta 3 Blue and Echo 2. So, clear right side, clear left side. Parking brake is released. Then let's go. GSX doesn't work here, for those of you who joined the stream a little bit later. So, brake is checked. For this reason, we have to taxi straight out and couldn't do a pushback.
Easy 25 Tango, you have München apron for ground, you still need to be on tower.
And anti-cooperative, which rudder pedals would I recommend? If you don't like the feel of the Pendular pedals, well, my first answer would be that I recommend the Pendular pedals. But if you don't like the feel of those, then well, probably the nearest cheapest option. It's been a long while since I've tried another rudder pedal. My last ones were the Zytec pedals. Those were kinda okay, but personally I found the Pendular pedals a lot better. Perhaps try the Honeycomb Charlie pedals. I didn't actually try them myself, but I heard very good things about them.
Echo 1 Charlie 4 and hold short of Charlie 1, confirm.
And you know, if you're in the EU, you can always buy them and send them back if you don't like them. Alright, so let's review the takeoff briefing. It's going to be a left-sea takeoff of 26 left, speeds 43, 44, 54, and in case of engine out straight at 25 miles. The normal sit is going to be a left turnout and pre-contact departure when advised by air traffic control. Apart from that, I have no specials, and the initial speed restriction is 210 knots. Any questions? No? Very good. So then let's go for the taxi checklist. Flaps, 8, flight controls, checked, trims, green, and... what do we have? 7.7. Okay. .6 will work as well. Right, so trims, green, and 7.7. Thrust reversers.
Charlie, contact tower 120505, goodbye.
120505, Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, tschüss.
Mission ground, Guten
okay, let's taxi first. There's still an aircraft ahead of us.
Stand 308 request clearance to Thessaloniki as well.
Jet 503, I call you back, number 2 for clearance.
Liner 55. See.
Lufthansa 1 Echo Romeo, taxi to entry, Sierra 7 via Sierra.
Entry Sierra 7 via Sierra, Lufthansa 1 Echo Romeo.
München Tower, hello, Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, entry Sierra 8.
First, Lufthansa 63, Tango, wind 280 degrees 4 knots, runway 26 left, clear for takeoff.
Runway 26 left, clear takeoff, Tango.
Austrian 5, Alpha, hello.
Austrian 5, Alpha Tower, hello, expect clearance on short final. Lufthansa 6, Alpha Juliet.
He seems rather busy. Let's continue the taxi checklist. So, thrust reverser, arms, EFIS and CAS checked, BTMS, 0, and cabin ready, taxi checklist complete. So, I count 2 aircraft at the holding point plus the one in front of us, so 3 aircraft in front, that is okay. So let's see if he calls us back. He did say first when he called an aircraft after our check-in.
What should I do? I'm on the taxi.
First Austrian 5, Alpha wind 280 degrees 4 knots, runway 26 left, clear to land.
26 left, clear to land, Austrian 572 Bravo.
2 stations at 1. Lufthansa 9 Alpha Papa, contact München radar on 127.955.
127.955, Lufthansa 9 Alpha Papa.
Lufthansa 480, contact München radar on 123.905.
William Powie, thank you so much for the $4.99 donation. I just want to say thank you for all of your time and effort with your tutorials. I've learned so much because of you, sir. Thank you very much, William. Really appreciate it.
München Tower, hello. Cargo 8634.
And I have a feeling we'll have to wait and call him again.
Tower, hello, wind 280 degrees 4 knots, runway 26 right, clear to land.
26 right, clear to land. Cargo 8634.
Lufthansa 1 Echo Romeo, contact apron on 121.710.
121.710, Lufthansa 1 Echo Romeo.
Tower moin, Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, Sierra 8.
Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, München Tower, servus. Taxi rolling point runway 26 left via Sierra Bravo 14.
Holding point 26 left, Sierra Bravo 14, Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie.
Turkish 782, wind 280.
Okay, perfect. So he did probably forget us earlier. So left turn onto Sierra, and then Bravo 14 is going to be the middle one of the two exits.
Easy 25 Bravo, turn left here into Sierra 5, left here.
So, not sure where that guy is going. Probably into the exit, otherwise we would not have gotten our taxi clearance.
Austrian 762 behind, next landing Airbus A320 on 4 miles final, liner runway 26 left behind.
Alright, driving traffic, line up and right behind Austrian 762.
Easy 25 Tango, next
So,
left.
turning on that landing light actually makes it quite a bit nicer outside. And let's turn those lights to a little nicer setup over here.
Austrian 572 Bravo, München Tower.
München Tower, Austrian 572 Bravo, finals to 6 left.
Austrian 572 Bravo, München Tower, servus, wind 280 degrees 4 knots, runway 26 left, clear to land.
26 left, clear to land to run.
So, this is a nice setup, isn't it?
Easy 25
Okay, Bravo
Tango,
14 next to the right. Puts us in front of that A330 over
Easy
there.
25 Tango, turn left now and hold position thereafter.
All in position now.
Did he just say request to take off?
Last session calling, say again.
Never say that. It's ready for departure. The word takeoff is really only used when the actual takeoff clearance is granted.
Full takeoff contact 127 for 5, please.
127 for 5, please can go by.
Turkish 782 contact, München radar 127 decimal 9 for 5.
So, Austrian landing, let's see what he's gonna do. Couldn't see much behind the Lufthansa 319.
Sierra 5 via Sierra.
Wow, is he lining up with the afterburners engaged?
Austrian 5 Alpha taxi 20 Sierra 7 via Sierra.
Austrian 5 Alpha taxi Sierra 7 Sierra.
Alright. So let's just keep the dome light on for a moment here, park and brake on. And then I guess the Lufthansa is going to be in front of us, and then it's going to be our turn second.
Austrian 5, 7, 2 Bravo, next right.
Yeah, Southwest taxi, you guys name it. Gotta say though, the sim looks absolutely amazing, doesn't it? So, it looks like there is somebody on the final, but we can't see him on TCAS just yet.
Lufthansa 6 Alpha Juliet, line up runway 26 left.
So that's him, lining up before us, and then we're probably going to be second after him.
Is the 25 Tango contact, apron on 121 decimal 780.
So I did promise you we'd use the heads-up display on this one. Let's bring that one down.
Einen wunderschönen guten Abend aus der Lufthansa, Force Yankee, established 26 left.
That definitely looks a lot better when the lights are off, huh?
Tower, hello.
Well, I'll keep the lights on for the time being, so that we can see the switches a little bit easier.
Listen up.
Tower, good evening, sir. France 16.
By the way, those lights look pretty amazing, don't they? I mean, a little bit too strong to be realistic, but for computer gaming?
First, Lufthansa 9 Juliet, Charlie behind, next departing, Lufthansa Airbus A319, line up number 26 left behind. Number 2 for departure.
Lufthansa 9 Juliet, Charlie behind the company 319, line up 26 left behind.
Lufthansa 6 Alpha Juliet, wind 280 degrees 4 knots, number 26 left, cleared for takeoff.
26 left, clear for takeoff, Lufthansa 6 Alpha Juliet.
Cabin crew, prepare for departure.
762, contact München radar, 127 decimal 955.
127 decimal 955, 76 to head.
So we can pre-select that as well.
7 Yankee, 2 departures ahead, last one will be a CRJ9.
Alright, he's rolling. So we'll probably get our clearance fairly soon after him.
First, Lufthansa Cargo 8634.
The arrival is, yeah, 3.5 miles out. That's fine.
Lufthansa Cargo 8634, taxi entry November 1 via November.
November 1 via November 8634.
Sky Travel 308, Tower hello, wind 280 degrees 4 knots, number 26 right, clear to land.
München, Air France 16 Fox, Truck Yankee, entry November 2.
Lufthansa 9er, Juliet, Charlie, wind 280 degrees 4 knots, number 26 left, cleared for takeoff.
Lufthansa 9er, Juliet, Charlie, 26 left, clear for takeoff. Takeoff.
Lufthansa 166 and 3 November 4, request taxi.
Lufthansa 163.
Okay, set thrust.
Towers, Airbus, taxi rolling point runway 26 right via November Alpha 13.
Thrust set.
Taxi to 26 right via November Alpha 13, Lufthansa 163.
KLM 24 Papa, München Towers, Airbus, taxi rolling point runway 26 left via Sierra Bravo 13.
Taxi halting point runway 26 left via Sierra Bravo 13, KLM 24 Papa.
V1, rotate.
Foxtrot Yankee, taxi rolling point runway 26 right via November Alpha 14.
Oh, minimums, yeah, continue. Positive climb, gear up.
26 right via November Alpha 14, Air France 16 Foxtrot Yankee.
Lufthansa 47 Yankee, wind 280 degrees 4 knots, runway 26 left, clear to land.
Clear to land, 26 left, Lufthansa 14 Yankee.
Austrian 5.
So, FMS 1. Let's turn on the autopilot again, so that we can see how it's going to behave.
121 decimal 71.
Austrian 57.
And speed hold, speed 210.
11710.
11710, Austrian 572.
Time thrust set. Flaps 1.
6 Alpha Juliet, contact München radar 127 decimal 955.
So, let's see how well it is going to fly that turn.
Lufthansa 6 Alpha Juliet, contact 127 955, Joe. Lufthansa 9 Juliet, Charlie radar 127 955, chip.
127 955, Lufthansa 9 Juliet, Charlie, chip. Okay, flap 0. Speed check,
Cargo
flap 0.
8634, first to the right, contact 121.
9-0, clear that is approach runway 26 left. Okay, that is approach runway 26 left, 2990 now. The 47 Golf is in altitude 5000 feet, QNH 1008.
Down 5,000 feet, QNH 1008, Lufthansa 47.
München Airbus, Lufthansa 9 Juliet, Charlie, passing 5000, climbing level 70.
6 Alpha Driven, radar low identified, climb via STRIX to flight level 19.
No, the other one.
Flight level 190, Lufthansa 6 Alpha Juliet.
München Hello, Lufthansa 9 Juliet, Charlie, passing 58, climbing level 70.
Climbing radar now identified, climb via STRIX to flight level 90.
Climb by SID level 90, Lufthansa 9 Juliet, Charlie.
66510 right heading 17.
So, let's just make sure we get all of that set. So, 250 knots.
Confirm the flight level for the Lufthansa
90, and then set standard.
Flight level 190,
Standard, cross-checked, passing flight level 69 now. Checked. After takeoff climb checklist.
270, please stay altitude 5000 feet.
CAS, checked, altimeters, standard, after takeoff climb checklist complete. Alright, let's turn the lights off again. This looks pretty amazing, doesn't it? So, Munich down here. And since someone asked where we are going to Ljubljana, the capital of Slovenia. Of course you guys would pick up on the flight level 69. You are all flying far too much Grand Theft Auto. Alright. So, intercepting flight level 90.
Proceed direct, clear the Austrian 762.
For the 665, turn right heading 230, clear that approach runway 26 right.
Right 230,
so, those turns are looking pretty good, aren't they? Capturing and tracking the route fairly precisely.
Expecting 26 left, Lufthansa 475.
The 540 Fox upon München Tower, 118705.
So, a couple of aircraft on the left over here. Those are probably the reason why we didn't get any further climb. But I can't see any of them for the time being.
By 3945 to the Charlie climb to flight level 150.
Lufthansa 9 Charlie climb flight level 150.
So 47 Golf turn left heading 350.
Left 350, Lufthansa 47 Golf.
Alpine 3945.
So 150 checked, climb 250.
You're broke.
Alpine 3945.
And Fred 738. Sorry, missed you right when I got that takeoff clearance. Did I just call flight simulation a game? Yeah, I did.
Boston 762 contact Wien 132.
132.6.
So, passing 100, speed to 90 for the climb. 132.15, Lufthansa 9 Julie, Charlie, ciao.
65 Federal contact München radar 134.15.
München Servus, Lufthansa 9 Julie, Charlie, flight level 104, climbing 150. München Radar, guten Abend, Lufthansa 9 Julie Charlie, flight level 108, climbing 150. Nope, doesn't sound like it. Let's ask again.
7 Captain Golf, turn left heading 280, clear that approach runway 26.
And while we're already climbing...
China 2733, cancel approach, turn left heading 1.
All lights off, and everything else is set.
China 2733, turn left
vertical
heading
speed.
170.
Turn left heading 1006.
For the banana 15, descend altitude 6000 feet, QNH 1008.
2000 to go. Let's get rid of the heads-up display over here.
For the 665 contact München radar, correct, tower bomber 705.
Greater info India.
For the 665 contact tower 118.705.
Runway 705, this was the 65, have a good one.
München Lufthansa 9 Julie Charlie, confirm the frequency again.
134, decimal 150.
13415, danke, tschüss.
Delta in der Charlie runway located. In der Charlie standard.
München Servus, Lufthansa 9 Julie Charlie, flight level 141, climbing 140, correction 150.
Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie München radar identified, select to flight level 270.
Climb flight level 270, Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie. Okay, 270, speed. Climb thrust. And back to our climb speed of 290. You can see I accelerated it a little bit over here in order to get the aircraft to be able to increase that climb a little bit right now. That way we kept putting energy into the system.
Confirm 180 is the final level.
And Eugene, hi, nice to see you. Hi Manuel, how are you doing? Hope you fixed the issue. That is why I'm afraid of starting my 2024 and copied the community folder. Yeah, better safe than sorry. To be honest, I'll just have to reinstall the entire community folder.
Juliet Charlie, contact Wien radar 132.6.
132.6, Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, servus.
Juliet, good evening, Emirates 7.
Wien Airbus, Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, flight level 185, climbing 270.
That was 2 at the same time, Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, I copied you, hello to you, identified, and actually report you, oh there you are. Climb to flight level 270, direct to waypoint, Peter.
Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, climb level 270, direct Peter.
Wind radar, Hotel Bravo Victor, Echo Romeo.
Okay, well, we are flying direct to Peter anyway, so there's that. Okay, the top of descent is only 60 nautical miles away, so we'll have like 40 miles on the cruise. That's quite fine though. That way we can already start working on setting up the arrival. So let's go over to our destination over here, Star, and we'll have the Degum to Lima. For the approach we have an ILS approach to runway 30, but before we do that, let's quickly check the weather here, and yeah, 250 at 3, 10 degrees, 10. So we're gonna do that. We'll overfly the VOR, then most likely the teardrop down here onto the final approach. Now this little box over here may be interesting today. Due to high terrain north of the airport, do not overshoot the localizer. We don't intend to do that today. Okay, well, we've got those two, then all we need is the airport and the parking stands.
Level 180, level up mixed flight 619. Line 6 uniform Foxtrot, space 2 Delta transition, descent altitude 6,000 feet, QNH 1007.
So, as a matter of fact, a little interesting one. Those minimum altitudes over here can be a little bit problematic, especially that one, 10,500 until 5 DME inbound. And this is actually a hotspot for flying below the minimum en route altitudes in the real world. There have been a lot of cases where pilots descended below these altitudes down here, especially the 10,500. So, yeah, we gotta apply some careful energy management on those. For the time being, let's see, arriving from Dagum, level 120 until 10 DME, that can also be problematic. So let's cross-check that we actually have all this lovely stuff in our FMS.
At Innsbruck, the
so, 290 Juliet. And then we've got LDL -5. Now that actually doesn't look very good. That doesn't look very good at all. That seems rather problematic. Okay. I tell you what, we're gonna fly the arrival conventionally then. Since we know that the aircraft had problems with our VNAV system anyway. So 1000 to go, vertical speed.
Turn left heading 080, vectors for final 26.
But let me see if we can figure this out. So we should proceed from Dagum on the track 110 inbound to 10 DME Lima Bravo Lima. So Dagum, and look at that, that's already quite different. That doesn't look correct. What do we have in the plan? Dagum to Lima. Ah, there is something wrong with that arrival. So let's see if we can fix that. Probably have to enter some stuff manually here. So from Dagum we proceed until Lima Bravo Lima. What's it doing now? Oh, cancel. So Lima, Bravo, Lima. After Dagum. Why is that removing our entire route? That's nonsense. Oh, well, I have an idea why. Oh, no. I kind of thought, well, maybe it has Lima Bravo Lima as a later waypoint, but it doesn't. Well, that's interesting. That means our entire arrival is somewhat botched. Okay, well, conventional flying it is then. So Lima Bravo Lima, 17.2.
Oscar Echo India November Kilo, descent level 170, level at Mazu.
170 mounted, level Oscar, November Kilo.
So let's put that in here, see if we can actually receive it. Or rather, when we can actually receive it. Then Dagon level 140 seems a little bit too low actually. So 23 miles until the 10-mile point.
630, descent level 120.
So let's do a little bit of mathematics here.
Sorry, my bad. Austin 630,
This is
descent level
outbound for 13 nautical miles. So over here we want to be in basically 7,000 or 4,000.
And fly Italy 619, wind radar.
Okay, so 5 miles outbound from the VOR, 7,000 is the minimum. That means we got 5 miles to the VOR, 15 miles until here. And over here we can be level 120. 15 miles means we can lose 5,000 feet, so that's pretty much exactly those 7,000 minus the speed reduction. So let's plan 10 Lima Bravo Lima in flight level 120. So that's 23 miles until Dagon. In 23 miles, so 23 divided by 3 is roughly 7. So we can be in 120 plus 7,000, so flight level 190 over at Dagon. So slash 19000, and that's going to be a descent constraint. 190 below, execute. Then let's see about the descent info page. 1,000 feet a minute required, looks good. Well, and we'll do the rest without any proper VNAV, because we don't have a proper working VNAV. On the positive side though, if you remember our inbound to Munich, we had the problem that it wouldn't recognize any manually entered constraints. Over here it actually does now. As you can see, top of descent, 2 minutes, 17 miles, Dagon flight level 190 below. So that's actually quite good. I wonder why it didn't do that earlier on our flight inbound to Munich. Looks like it's not perfect yet, but... Lufthansa 9 Julia Charlie, when ready, descent level 170.
90 Quebec, wind radar 134,675, ciao.
And 170 checked. Alright, very good. Then let's go ahead and continue that setup. So onto the ILS chart. Airport elevation is... runway elevation is 1190.
And 7041, taxi on point Alpha, with the 08.
So 1180, that's good enough for me. Okay, so minimums 1391, and we can dial that in over here. Minimums, and we're looking at 1391.
So Whiskey Lima 823 and cleared ILS 26, descent 4000.
Radar, hello, Eurowings 5 Alpha Mike is passing flight level 175.
Here we go, 1391 is pre-selected, ILS frequency 110.5 will be set active later on, and that's everything we need down here. Alright, cool. So then, performance, and we can set our arrival speeds. And that's all we need. Alright then, let's start our arrival briefing. And tell you what, 4 miles to the top of descent, so let's first of all start the actual descent.
Contact radar.
1,500 feet a minute.
134,675
Seems so little, but, well, if that's what the plane wants, then that's what the plane wants.
Please expedite your descent, GTS base structure, thank you.
So, 1,500 feet a minute, and down we go. Alright, cool. So let's start our briefing.
Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, Unicorn 128, goodbye.
128, Lufthansa 9 Juliet Charlie, bye-bye.
Wind radar, good evening, Lufthansa 8 Papa Foxtrot with you.
Alright, silence. Well then, let's start our arrival briefing. so we are going to arrive via the Degum to Lima for a standard ILS approach out of Ljubljana VOR. It will be, well, it will be just the standard arrival down to a minimum of 1391. In case of go-around, we follow the published missed approach procedure, and the MSA for this one, 10,500 in the north, and then dropping in the south. Alright, extra fuel and time. Well, we do have actually plenty extra fuel available, so that's nothing to worry about. Then, let's go ahead and have a look into how we're going to fly the arrival. We will be using the autopilot system to track the VOR in and outbound, and we are eventually only going to take over manually once we're established on the final over here, in order to make our life a little bit easier, since this is going to be one of the more complicated approach procedures. Now, in case I missed approach, we'll do it the following way. We go straight ahead to the marker west, that's at 2.2 DME Lima Bravo Juliet, which is the ILS itself. So runway track until 2.2 DME, and then turn left, maximum 185 knots, so we're going to keep flaps 8, onto a heading of 137, that's the one down here. To intercept radial 172 outbound until 13 DME, then turn left inbound bearing 052 to Dolsko VOR, and climbing to and maintaining 6,000. Alright, apart from that, we are going to do a flaps 45 landing, manual braking to vacate the runway, let's see, I believe almost at the end? Yeah, at Golf, that's like 1,800 meters down the runway. That brings us right to the terminal. I don't have any specials on non-standards, except for what we already talked about, and that's pretty much it. Any questions? No? Wonderful, so that's our briefing completed. So, Alpha Polo is asking, how's the CRJ doing? Well, right now it's really not doing that well. Right now, it's really not doing that well. It messed up the arrival, so it didn't insert the star correctly. So once we are past Degum, we'll have to take over and follow the Ljubljana VOR inbound to fly conventional arrival. Not exactly what I wanted to do, but yeah, nothing we can do about it right now. Well, apart from that, it's most certainly tracking LNAV better than it used to in the older version. That's the great improvement we can see already, together with the cabin that's been added. Yeah. This will definitely not be the final update for the CRJ. They will have to do a little bit more work on it, but I'm sure that Hans is gonna do that. So yeah, Hans, for the time being, that's a number 6 for you, and I'm not talking about school grades over here. You know what I'm meaning, Hans. Alright, cool. So that much about those basics. Something that is worth pointing out, though, is that VNAV, if it's working, which on the previous flight it wasn't, is actually working a little bit better now than it used to on previous versions. So, it would be interesting to try an aircraft that actually has... Would be interesting to fly an aircraft that actually has a couple of VNAV available. Right, here we go. We are now receiving the VOR. So let's change over onto the conventional way here. Heading. VOR 1. Synchronize. And we are gonna fly inbound on 110. On a bearing of 110. Alright, that's set. And VOR 1. So, down to flight level 120. Set. So then, fasten seatbelt signs on, and no smoking signs on. And the angry Slav, Amy, I've heard that Flight Sim Studios is updating the FMC on the East jets soon. Are you going to give the aircraft another go when it's out? Yeah, when it's FS 2024 compatible. As long as it's 2020 only, it's not interesting to me anymore. I just don't use the old simulator anymore. I'm all on the new sim now. Alright, so since we are following conventional navigation now, why not just set it up over here as well? So let's see, 10 DME from Lima Bravo Lima. We can leave flight level 120. We're in 170 now, descending at, well, let's increase that descent a little bit. 1800, well, let's make it 2000 feet a minute. 16 miles to run till we got a... Oh, that's interesting. Why did we lose that VOR? You don't want to tell me. We're in manual tuning here. Where are you flying? Stupid thing. Heading. So, 117.2. You did not just actually auto-tune the ILS frequency while we were using the VOR for navigation, right? That's the next bug then. Alright, re-intercepting the radial. Plane definitely shouldn't have done that. I'm gonna file a bug report for that one for sure. Well, actually I'm just gonna tell Hans to view the stream because there are enough bugs showing on this one that he can definitely find something nice here. A little bit of work for him. And Matthew, yeah, it auto-tuned the ILS, but does the actual aircraft auto-tune the ILS if you are tracking a VOR in VOR mode? I kinda can't believe that. Remember, we've got nav set to manual down here, and we are using the VOR, we are even tracking it. Would it really auto-tune the ILS in that situation? Because that doesn't seem right. I mean, you probably never do that in an airline, of course. That would be a different topic. And KB Austin Aviation, did ATC just contact you? No, they didn't. That was some guy sending some weird joke about a closure of a destination airport. And Matthew, yes, the next gen CRJs will always auto-tune the ILS. They aren't the smartest birds. Okay. Well, I'll take it from you. It seems utterly dumb that the airplane detunes the frequency you are currently using if you're actually navigating on it. Well, then again, the Airbus Auto Throttle also got certified somehow, so probably can't be too bad. So, we're leaving 10 DME, let's go down to 70. And then back to vertical speed, and back down we go. 1500 down. 70. And then let's find our latest weather. So 201 QNH 1010. Oh, 9/9, so it's gonna get foggy soon. Right, set QNH. QNH 1010. Cross-check passing 11,400 now. And Andreas, yes, I do think that Hans is gonna fix those things. And Gideon, what do I use to look around the cockpit? The mouse. Simple as that, the mouse. So, once we overfly the station, we're going to join radial 137 outbound. So, let's pre-select that on the heading bug. So, probably something like 145-ish. And then we're about over at the station now, so heading. Okay then. 137 like this. Then speed back down towards 250 and speed hold. So, let's intercept the radial 137. Here it comes. And nav is armed again. Alright, so we've passed 10,000. Lights are coming on. And signs are on. Perfect. So, VOR1 is capturing. Then we have almost 1,000 to go. And once we are past 5 DME, we can descend to altitude 4,000. So, alt capture. But we're reaching 5 DME in a moment. Here we go, 5 DME. And you keep on vertical speed, my friends. 1,500 downwards and to 4,000 feet. And Alessandro, just curious, what kind of dumb things do Airbus auto throttles do? Basically, when it's gusty, they add thrust even though you are far above the target already. So when the wind is really turning and gusty, then your Airbus, well, it might fly some 30 or 40 knots faster than commanded. That's where we always go like, how on earth did this thing get certified? But yeah, somehow. So at 13 DME we're going to make the turn inbound. And at that time I want my speed down at 210. So that we can actually make a proper turn inbound. So final track is 302, so let's pre-select 330. Here we go. Then 2 miles to the turn, let's go ahead and make that descent a bit more shallow, so that we can actually lose that speed. And Thais, yeah, you say it, don't overshoot that localizer. So, vertical speed minus 1,000. 210 knots, flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Alright, 13 miles, heading. And then the ILS is 110.5. And the final course 302. Then let's get that speed down to 185. Here we go, so course 302. And Ivan, I haven't actually tried an on-off approach with the updated version yet, so I can't tell you just yet. Okay, altitude capture. Let's see if the plane can actually intercept the approach this time. Now look at that, already giving us log 1. I'm kinda not confident in what it's doing right now. Now look at that, we can see the runway over there. It's flying us to nowhere again. Alright, thank you. Bye-bye, autopilot. Flight directors off. This is annoying. So, HUD down, lights off. Now this is interesting. Look at the glide slope scale on the heads-up display showing me 1 dot below. And then look at the glide slope over here, giving me more than a dot. Huh. Strange. Right, localizer alive. Now I would really need another hand to dial in the 170 for the speed bug. Well, might have to do that manually. Here we go, 170. And glide slope capture. Okay, runway track is set for the go-around, 302. Is this actually an offset approach? Looking at the localizer, it seems rather offset, even though we're about to be exactly on the center line. We're even a little bit to the right of the center line now. Well, gear down, flaps 20. So, set the final approach speed, please. Oh, come on, return and set all. Thank you. Alright, flaps 30 and flaps 45. So now I would really need someone to read the checklist, but the important things here. Reversers armed, gear down, flaps 45. The rest of it, not so important. And just look at how quickly we are losing the speed here, if we are actually distracted with other things. That's why these things are flown with 2 pilots, my friends. So, looking at the HUD, we are definitely heading towards the runway right now. Why is that flight path vector rather significantly offset? I have a feeling Hans didn't model the drift of that vector. Tell you what, let's get rid of the HUD. So, let's see, on the last version, when the radio altimeter called 10, you basically touched down. Let's see how that's gonna work out in this version. Might have to flare at 30, just to be on the safe side here. But guys, pay close attention to the radio altimeter.
100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Yep, right onto the marker. Alright, spoilers, reverse. Decel. $70 knots. So yep, the callouts are still off as you guys have said it. And we really smashed it into the ground because of that. That's what happens when you're 10 foot lower than you think you are. Alright. Well, perfect Lufthansa landing. Exactly on the marker. And everyone knows that we're here now. No one's asleep anymore. What else can you possibly ask for? So the runway is vacated. We'll just stop the aircraft here for a moment. We are completely clear of the runway area already. Well, maybe we can just sneak forward at a knot over here, so that we don't have to officially stop. Okay, and then let's just put on the nose landing light in order to be able to see something. Well, and with that, welcome to Ljubljana. And Taher, you gather that the update is disappointing. Well, to be honest, it is a step into the right direction. The cabin's looking good, and the improved LNAV is rather good as well, but it certainly isn't the last update that the CRJ needs. They will need to do some more updates in order to get the airplane really up to standard. Now, I'm gonna kick Hans back to watch the stream over again and identify and resolve all those bugs, but I think we can definitely conclude that there are bugs in here that do need fixing. However, we can also conclude that there are a couple of positives. Mostly in that the aircraft has better LNAV now, has a better cabin now, and that it works completely in FS 2024. And I think those are the main points that we can take away from here. Alright, so let's tell GSX that we want to be parking in stand number 5. Now comes all that searching of stand names. Alpha 5 with jetway. No follow me needed, thanks. Right, lights off. So the radar is off, the lights are off. Marshaller down here. If a marshal is present, he always or she always takes precedence over the guidance system. But come on, we don't want to leave that red line. And stop. Okay, park and brake set. APU is available. Shut down. Come on, stay silent down there. So, Bandit Flight Simmer, how were the frame rates with the CRJ in FS 2024? Good. I didn't see any impact. That's all I can say. My frames are limited at 60 and I'm getting all those 60. Alright, so here we are. Then, parking checklist please. So, park and brake on, thrust levers shut off, and then fuel pumps off, ignition off, anti-ice off, low off, external lights set, hydraulics, we can switch those off, are off, trims, centered, flaps 0, radar and transponder off and standby, and the nose wheel steering is off. Well, and that's the parking checklist complete. So let's get GSX to start the deboarding first, please. And while GSX is doing that, let's quickly head aft and open that door before the jetway connects. So it would be nice if we could actually fold the handrails from here, but I think we still have to do that from down here in the EFB. So chocks in place and guardrails are coming down for the jetway. Here we go. Well, that matches fairly well down here, doesn't it? Perfect step over to the jetway. Well then, let's go ahead and also open up the cargo doors. And last but not least, we can connect our ground power unit. Well, and with that, welcome to Ljubljana. So, what's my feedback on the latest update of the Aerosoft CRJ then? So, basically, I think it's a step into the right direction. The cabin is definitely good for what it is, and the LNAV system also works quite a bit better. There's other systems though that definitely need some more attention, especially the VNAV system, and we also had problems with our LNAV tracking and adding things to our arrival routing. I think that stuff needs a little bit more work, and I do surely hope that Hans is going to do that work. Now, I think for a free update, the CRJv2 is definitely a step into the right direction. If you don't own the CRJ yet, would I recommend it for the simulator? Well, if you're looking for a regional jet, then I absolutely would. I still think it is the best regional jet currently available. It's certainly still better than the Flight Sim Studio Embraers if we consider the overall package. Of course, the Embraers have some better graphics, but the CRJ systems are still pretty much far ahead of the Embraer systems. Is it worth 70 bucks? Well, that may be a little bit expensive, seeing what other aircraft we have received nowadays. But overall, I think it's a fair aircraft to fly. Now, Smithy Chris says in the comments, can you address how there has been a lack of delivering on commitments? To be honest, I can't really address on that, because first of all, which commitments were there really? Hans said he would do updates after the ATR is out, and he's doing those updates now. We don't know yet if this is going to be the late or the last version of the CRJ. I'm fairly sure it's not. So, yeah, when you're talking about commitments, the question always is what kind of commitments, because often the community draws up a lot of self-made commitments. But what we can say for sure is that the aircraft will need further updates. And Chris, LNAV actually worked fine, so we have to give it that. LNAV worked fine. Obviously, entering waypoints in the flight plan is not LNAV, that's FMS. But LNAV has tracked the route pretty much perfectly for when we used it, so we have to give it that. Obviously, the FMC had some bugs, no doubt about that. And obviously the airplane will need further updates. I think we all know that, and I think that they definitely have to do that. Alright, so, FT Strat LP, is it better than the Just Flight regional jets? Nah, I wouldn't say that. Obviously the Just Flights, though, don't have VNAV either. At least, you know, not a complex VNAV. So the RJ in the real world, or the Avro RJ, is an easier airplane than the CRJ, but obviously they do have to do further updates to the CRJ as well. That's out of question. That's completely out of question. And Maximala Mook, did I test the latest update of the Aerosoft A330? No. Definitely no. I'm not sadistic after all. Okay, well, so that's pretty much what I can offer you guys today. I don't think it's worth doing a third flight here. We'd rather spend that time recording something different over the next couple of days. Maybe some Phoenix again. You guys let me know. Or maybe I just go back to doing a little bit of PMDG beta testing, so that these things are gonna come out soon enough. But I think for the time being, we've seen what we needed to see with the CRJ. So yeah, you guys actually have some very good suggestions down there, and watch the football game between Germany and Italy. So yeah, I think that's probably the best thing to do. Alright then guys, thank you so much for watching. I do hope that you have enjoyed the live stream. I hope that I could give you some insights there. To answer a final question from Akash, will the Boris soundback be compatible with the V2 update? Not initially, but Boris has already gotten a copy of the latest CRJ version so that he can make it compatible. So I'm sure it's gonna get updated very, very soon. Well, and with that guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed the live stream. Thank you very much for giving me your time. I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one. In the meantime, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. And if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching, and I see you